Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sebring in Florida in the United States for round two of the Virtual Motorsports Gold Split, the second tier here on Le Mans Ultimate. My name is Edward Hunter. I'm joined in the commentary box by Sverre Coleman and Nicolas Domino. Here is an overview of your almost flat, keyword there being almost, 6.02 kilometer circuit here at the Sebring International Raceway. It's been used ever since the end of World War II. As you can see there, sectors 1, 2, and 3 with the famous Sunset Bend, which of course is going to be a fearsome final corner at the end of the Ullman Straight. 17 corners all told. And as he said, almost flat. There are a couple of surfaces that are a little bit bumpiest, particularly at high speed, and some great classic corners and elevation. There we go. Already practice is over and the GT3s are being called into service. There is one of the Renova competition cars. That's the number 22 of, I believe it's showing on the screen, it's Mattia Panci, who was topping the timesheets in practice, of course, fresh of a fourth place. He had a big gamble at the end of mixed conditions at Silverstone where it dried out, and he stayed out on the wet tyres, climbed from, I think, 5th or 6th up to 4th, just held off Jack Bolger by less than a tenth of a second over the finish line. But they were beaten, of course, by this man, the Frenchman Julien Guerin, in the Shadow 1 Porsche. And he'll be looking to get another podium to his name. They're very, very experienced in real life as well, French racing. He's driven all sorts of open-wheel cars, as Julien Guerin. So he has a wealth of experience to draw upon. And he is certainly loving life in the GT3 class here in the Gold Split. But anyway, let's bring in Stevie now as the GT3s continue to negotiate the outlap. You can see Guerin's Shadow 1 teammate in the AMG number 4. Just that is Raphael Rapin, just giving him a little bit of side-by-side action, I guess, as he lets him through. But yes, here we are in Sebring after a very, very exciting start to the season in Silverstone. There are a number of drivers who did very, very well, and of course a number of drivers like Giacomo Matrese that didn't score and are looking to put that right here.
Yeah, it sure was a very, very entertaining and very chaotic race in Silverstone. Of course, the weather playing a huge part in that race, especially with the gamble of, for instance, Mattia Panci, like you were mentioning. Those gambles, well, for some of them that really paid off, for others not so much. Giacomo Matrese, he didn't really gamble, but he just didn't have any pace at all during the race in that Lexus LM GT3 car. So he's hoping he will be able to set that one right here at Sebring. Now, as you were mentioning, this track has been used, well, ever since just after World War I. It was apologies, it was opened in 1950, and the track hasn't been resurfaced since at all, basically. So the road you still see is still very much the concrete that they used back then. So it's very, very bumpy, especially in the Sunset Corner that you're seeing Mattia Panci coming through now, and it's very easy to get tricked out or caught out by the very challenging track conditions around this magnificent racing track. As we see Mattia Panci starting his first real flying lap. Of course, the pit lane exit is just before the start of a lap, but technically this is his second flying lap. But we will now see him attacking the circuit for the first proper time around here. It's already 2 or 3 on the board, but we're kind of expecting that to dip into the 201s, maybe even the 2 00s, depending on how quick they're going. And the McLaren has shown some great pace throughout the VMS so far, so he will be surely one to look out for.
Yeah, it certainly has been. The current update does seem to shine favourably upon the McLaren 720S. There is one coming up very, very soon, later this month, of course. So we'll have to see if that is still the case. But Mattia Panci, the Italian driver, certainly continuing his strong form from practice. As you can see, purple time in the first sector, but he is, of course, the first man out there. So we are yet to see if anybody else can match or even better his current sector times there as we run on board, coming out of Cunningham Corner into Tower Bend, which is the tight, almost a 45-degree, 90-degree sort of right-hander there. So easy to get sort of caught on the curb trying to track extend there. And now he's going all the way through Bishop's Bend, down the Flying Fortress Straight, and into Gendebien Bend, named, of course, after legendary endurance driver Olivier Gendebien. And finally, out of Gendebien into Le Mans Curve. Plenty of curb use on the inside. Again, very easy to wash out, understeer on the outside. Now he's on the Ullman straight. This is just a case of you've got your pits on the right-hand side. That's going to come very relevant once the 80-minute race begins. You will have to do a pit stop to get to the end, at least one. Now swing it into sunset here, and you can see there the bumps visibly making the McLaren a bit unstable there as he picks his point to accelerate, get on the power, flirting with disaster on the left-hand side with the tyre barrier. Across the line he comes, and you can see actually first and third sectors have been beaten, but the middle very, very strong indeed. 2 minutes, 0.8 is the final time. Kolosov was our pole sitter, of course, at Silverstone. He is 4 tenths behind in second with Kevin Bauer, our second place man, and Clement Keinzel. That's our Fisher Racing Esports that did a 1-2, both of those drivers in third and fourth in reverse order.
Yeah, that's a magnificent lap time by Punchy, straight out of the box into the 200. So a lot quicker than I was expecting here at the early stages of LMGT3 qualifying. There's still just under 5 minutes to go for these drivers, but he's been driving very well, Punchy, and he's putting his McLaren onto provisional pole position. De Bueno now going second fastest, just under 0.3 of a second behind in second place, ahead of the two Fisher Racing team drivers. Kevin Bauer now is in fourth place as well. Just looking down the list, we see the likes of Jack Bolger coming back in 8th place. Rodriguez also running them, of course, in 11th. But those gaps are still quite big, with over a second between to the 10th placed car, as Julien Guerin in the Shadow 1 Porsche is quicker than Punchy. It's 33 thousandths of a second quicker into Sector 1. Going a bit wide there through Tower Turn, I think it is.
Cunningham, I think he's coming up to Tower.
Yeah, there we go. That's Cunningham indeed. It was mistaken by 2 corners, but he went a bit deep into there. So let's see if he's able to carry enough momentum, enough speed into the end of Sector 2. Coming up on that shortly, I think. There we go. So it's just slower there through Sector 2. So he's not able to get this lap done and dusted just now. He's a little bit off the pace, but it's still looking very, very quick indeed. It should be good enough for at least a P2 here, I think.
The middle sector from Punchy was very strong, so he wasn't far off it, as we can actually see. Comparisons to, I think Punchy may have improved his time just now. Yeah, he's shaved a few tenths off it, 2 minutes, 0.5. So that's only 3.5 tenths faster. As Keinzel now goes up to second, Bauer up to third. But what can Julien Guerin do here as he wrestles with the steering wheel coming out of sunset there? Gets on the power, the Porsche 992 accelerates to the line. It's SIG fastest behind Ruben Roux, 4 tenths of the Punchy's current pole time. So that's a 2 minutes, 0.9.
Yep, and Matresi now jumping up the order as well into fourth now, as De Bueno was quickest still with a 2:00.3. So very, very quick by De Bueno, who puts his car in front of Punchy. And it's slowly creeping towards the below the 2 minute mark. That would be insane in these LMGT3 cars if they go below the 2 minute mark. But it's looking very, very feisty up top indeed. Jules Neal now 2.5 tenths down, so he won't be challenging for pole position on this lap. But the gaps are really coming down now. It's Punchy on second, Bolzer, apologies, out of nowhere in third. Keinzel fourth, Pateresi, we spoke about him earlier, disappointing race in Silverstone, but he is now in 5th place. As Mathieu Punchy is a great Sector 1, but a disappointing Sector 2 again. So that's that is where the key to a good lap seems to be.
Yeah,
Again, a good Sector 2.
Sorry to interrupt, but that really surprised me because De Bueno, of course, is in the Lamborghini Huracan, which we saw was very, very quick at Silverstone. Him and Kolosov locked out the front row. De Bueno did another run on the tyres at the end of the session and just missed out on pole position. In fact, he's going even faster in that first sector now in the DC Racing number 25 Lambo, as just flirting with the edge of the curb there. A little bit of dust kicked up, but the Lamborghini accelerates and is very, very confident over the curbs as well. So this looked to me from the first couple of runs like it was Mattia Punchy, McLaren 720S and maybe Porsche 992 territory, but the Lambo has still got some latent pace, although that middle sector not as quick. And Mattia De Bueno flirting with disaster again coming out of Le Mans, but you see Mario De Bueno, of course, had an amazing comeback where he was running second at Silverstone early in the race, had a screen freeze, and then went from out of the points, fought his way back up to P7 then. So certainly De Bueno is another of those big talents we've got to keep our eyes on, of course, looking to emulate the success of his older brother who got that podium last week at Fuji, of course, and Matteo De Bueno is, of course, on the reserves list for the Platinum Split, so it is not impossible that we could see the two of them sharing a track together, albeit it'll probably be Matteo having to get out of Marco's way and not hold up the hypercars, particularly in that situation. But yes, still a couple of minutes left to go in the session then as we look at Stefano Battistella in another Lambo, so it definitely feels like the Lamborghinis are starting to hot up as this session carries on. But Battistella in a very creditable P6 at the moment, just ahead of Arthur Rontard, who's getting a fair bit of support on the chat, along with Luca, and I believe that is Luca Rubin-Rue, of course, who is still in P10, just holding on to that spot in the top 10 behind Gurin, as there's Rontard, who's just gone slightly faster than De Bueno in the first sector, so it's nip and tuck between McLaren and Lamborghini.
Rontard also in the McLaren in the number 70, so he's currently in P7. But the McLaren really looking like a very quick car out there, both in Denso Penci and Arthur Rontard. But I'm very curious to see how the Lamborghini will now hold up during the race split later on, because we've seen that qualifying pace before. They were able to lock out the front row in Silverstone, but the race pace was just not there. But this time, though, this McLaren Sector 2 again not very good, so 3/10 off there. This won't be a pole position for Arthur Rontard, but we've seen some great race pace from the McLarens in the other splits as well at VMS. So I'm very curious to see how those cars will hang on during the race, especially compared to the Lamborghinis.
Yeah, of course, the session, the check flag does come out of 15 minutes remaining, so we're a minute past. So the checkered flag here, everybody's got to finish their laps. Can Arthur Rontard get into the first 3 rows of the grid? We see a couple of times being completed. Rontard goes P6 then and extends the gap to Battistella. But you can see there it is De Bueno Panci just behind Matteo De Bueno. Zoranovic can only get the 16th fastest time. And then you can see Bauer and Matrese making up 3rd and 4th places. So I think Bolger was the big gainer there, getting up to 5th right at the death of the session there, if I'm not mistaken, unless I'm getting him and Matteo Panci mixed up. But again, another very, very tight contest for pole. So let's just quickly go through the GT3 grid order provisionally. Matteo De Bueno in the Lamborghini lines up in pole for DC Racing, going one better than he did on the grid at Silverstone. Matteo Panci lines up alongside him in the front row. Kevin Bauer is third. Jaco Matrese in the Tatum Esports Mustang lines up P4, much better than we saw in the opener. Jack Bolger lines up 5th. Arthur Rontard will start 6th ahead of Battistella. Kolosov will start 8th. Clemens Keinzel, our winner at Silverstone, only P9. And then Michel Rodriguez rounds out the top 10 just ahead of Julian Gurin. Luca Rubin-Rue will start P12. Jules Neal will be 13th. Evan Leproux, 14th. Galetti will start 15th ahead of Zoranovic. Rapin will start 17th. And Kurjon will round out the 18-car LMGT3 field. So there we go. Impressive performance, particularly by Matteo De Bueno there, who is really looking to put the disappointment. It was nothing he really could have done about that screen freeze that definitely cost him a chance to fight for the podium. It's, considering there were 3 cars all fighting for the podium right at the end of Silverstone, you absolutely have got to say that Matteo De Bueno definitely would have fancied himself getting in the mix, and now he's got another chance to maybe take his first win in the gold split. But of course, the threat from Panci and others is going to be very, very intense once we get going, as there's just under 2 minutes left until the hypercars are sent out for their qualifying.
Yeah, and just trying to see what car Matteo De Bueno is. He is in a Lamborghini Huracan, so as mentioned earlier, it's going to be very interesting to see how that race pace is comparing to the McLaren of Panci, who's right behind him in 2nd place. He might be able to go for it around the outside into turn 1, but it's always a very tricky move, especially around Sebring. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Now, especially Clemens Keinzel, you already mentioned him. He got a win at Silverstone 2 weeks ago.
Very dominant win too.
Yeah, that as well. But I do remember that during qualifying, he wasn't really up there either. So he might just be going for a race.
He was like 3rd or 4th on the grid, if memory serves. So he wasn't too
Yeah, it
far
was.
off the leaders.
Yeah,
And he was like third at the start, and then watching for De Bueno and Kolosov fighting each other at the beginning. But yeah, it is surprising to see him P9, 4/10 off the pace. And that really opens it up for the likes of Kevin Bowett in second, obviously by his teammate, who lined up in the top 4 there. Julian Gurin, who's behind him on the grid, and Mattia Panchi, fourth in the championship, just on the front row as well. So big opportunities for the front runners, for those in the championship to gain ground on the championship leader. But here come the hypercars then. Marco Beltrami, of course, our championship leader, having won at Silverstone. But we have got a number of drivers that did impress, the likes of Nathan Perron, took 4th as a reserve, has now been promoted to a full-time drive in his Alpine as well. So he is going to be one to watch, along with Matthias Barzenk as well, who fought for victory for Renova competition. He is going to be another of our big challengers, is the pole, in terms of not just the fight for pole position, but potentially the championship as well. And then there is Beltrami's teammate, Matteo Bissan, who took pole brilliantly in a very shortened qualifying. Because of the rain, you had to get it right first time out. Bissan got pole position, but then the rain ironically proved to be his undoing come the race. He had a longer pit stop, ended up stuck behind the likes of Perron and a lot of the Aston Martin Valkyries, and that ended up compromising his race then. So he'll be very, very keen, not just to set pole position again, but to stay there. And let's not forget Eric Noetzold, a new driver that's joining us in the Cadillac there for Pulse Esports. It's going to be interesting to see what the young German, I say young, he's only a couple of years younger than me, what he can do. So I don't think I'm a good barometer of that in his debut in the Gold Split, because I don't think we've seen a whole lot of him. He did sign up to VMS last November, but we haven't seen him on track until now. So lots of support, I'm sure, from Pulse Esports for Eric.
Yeah, it was an interesting name to see pop up. We hadn't met him before, so it's going to be very interesting to see how he's able to stand his ground here in the Gold Split. Well, I mean, if you're driving in the Gold Split, you surely have some good pace in your car. So
they don't just let anybody in.
Exactly. You do have to be able to do something well here. That's for sure. They're not going to let me in there. That wouldn't end very well, I don't think. So that's
your brother might be able to do it one day. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe I have to buy my own steering wheel first instead of just borrowing the one from my brother. No, but it's always nice to see some new names here in the field as well. Some familiar names, of course. Nathan Perron in the Alpine is a name we saw last season as well. Most drivers here in the Gold Split this season are returning names from both the Silver Split or drivers who also drove in the Gold Split last time, but did the qualifying again, the pre-qualifying. Looking at the cars of choice, there's a lot of Cadillac V Series in here in the hypercar field. We were talking about it earlier with the upcoming update, and well, probably within a week at this point, potentially. There's not really a confirmation on that, but the Cadillac is presumed to be the most stable car after that update. So a lot of people choosing the American V8 powered car here, so it's going to be interesting to see how they perform on their home track.
There's 9 in total, including
there we go. So that's yeah. Go ahead.
I didn't really have too much else to say. It's just it's interesting that people are predicting now what the car's going to be like after the updates based on sort of piecemeal info from Studio 397. So it's like,
I do
Stephen
wonder how
Hood
they
said
do
the
that.
Cadillac would be the one to go for, so I'm going for the Cadillac. But yeah, it seems there's a sort of plurality of choice. There's a Porsche 963 in the field now in the hands of Alphonse Vellin. We got a couple of Valkyries, Nashikashvili in the Ferrari, Nonimaka in the Toyota, and then a couple of Alpines in the form of Mohamed Colombo, who is being supported in the chat, and the aforementioned Nathan Perron, who impressed so greatly at Silverstone. Eric Noetzold going through Tower Turn and down the Flying Fortress straight, named after, of course, the B-52, of course, the Flying Fortress bomber. He is
magnificent airplane.
Yeah, he's a whole second up when you add those first 2 sectors on anybody behind him, you would assume, if that's the outright fastest laps so far. But of course, it can be deceiving. Sometimes it could have someone behind him on a purple time that doesn't register until he crosses the line. So into Sunset he goes. This is looking like a decent marker time. It's being laid down in 4th gear on the power. It's interesting that white line, how they seem to stray far from it when they get on the power. Eric Noetzold sets a 144.8, just under 3 tenths quicker than Bicatti behind him, and Michele De Rezzo in the Porsche 9X8 is the third fastest, 7 tenths off the pace then. So it'd be interesting to see how the 9X8 handles here, because historically it doesn't tend to do too well at Sebring. Doesn't really like the undulations all that much in the sort of bumpier braking zones. Beltrami though, locks up into sunset. So the number 69, the championship leader, the car misbehaving itself a little bit on this first flying run in those final 2 sectors.
Yeah, that didn't look all that comfortable, and he slots in P3, so half a second behind Noetzold, who's still on provisional pole position, but a Cadillac moving all over the place into Sunset Bend, very wide line in there, and not really able to carry all the momentum that he needed towards the end of his lap. So he's now only in third fastest. Of course, there's still 5 minutes to go for these drivers to put in some lap times, so it's not over yet for them. But it's a good start by Noetzold, who is still in P1. Meanwhile, Francesco Adamu goes 0.006 of a second quicker into Sector 1. However, we've of course seen before that the key to a good lap here is that Sector 2. If you're able to hang on there and match the car in front, then it's very likely that you'll be able to put your car in a high position. Meanwhile, Eric Noetzold is also going quicker again. It's a purple Sector 1 again.
Yeah, 2.5 tenths quicker, Sveri. So Eric Noetzold, look at how much the rear is just absolutely stepping out right at the apex there as he gets on the power as soon as possible. Towards the line he comes. It's going to be even faster, 144.7. Wow. There we go, pulls 4 tenths clear of Filippo Bicatti. Adamu, as you can see, he's gone from 6 thousandths ahead to 2.5 tenths down in the first sector, even though he is on a personal best. Can he get anywhere near his teammates? Yes, he can. He slots in just ahead of Pezin, then his 2 teammates, Beltrami and Bessan, in 6th and 7th then. So the track is definitely getting quicker, as there's Matej Barzenk. He's definitely going to be one to watch, especially with that strong middle sector, a tenth quicker than Noetzold.
Yeah, that's looking good so far. Currently in P17, over the bumps there in Sunset Bend. He's able to keep the car in one piece though, very close to the wall, but that's what you want to get. And he sets his car up for a new lap as well. But it is provisional pole now, 13 thousandths of a second quicker than Noetzold. So he puts his Cadillac, the 777, in provisional pole. Robin Dichon in the Peugeot 9X8 was 5th quickest, 4 tenths behind there as well. So the 222, not too shabby as well there. So very good lap by Barzenk, also by Dichon, who's still now currently in 6th, with Pezin going 4th, but Barzenk putting down the gloves, and he's looking very quick out there.
Yeah, Pezin in the Valkyrie, by the way, so I think he's the only non-Cadillac in the top 5, of course, with Dichon in the Peugeot in 6th being the next different car. There's Adamu going quicker yet again, nearly matching Barzenk in the first sector, but 2.5 tenths down in Sector 2 then. So Francesco Adamu then, only 2 minutes 40 seconds left on the clock here. And Adamu then, it definitely looks like Tatum not as confident as we saw them at Silverstone. Barzenk, Noetzold, Cedar, all locking out those first 3 positions in their respective Cadillacs then, with especially Barzenk and Noetzold, the 2 relative newcomers to the gold split, impressing there as we see Adamu gets back up to P7, but he's just over 4 tenths behind, 8 thousandths behind Robin Dichon.
Lucas Sitter though, purple Sector 1, it's a good Sector 2 as well. He remains in 3rd, however, just over 1 tenth behind Barzenk, but again an improvement by Lucas Sitter in the Fisher Racing Team Cadillac. So a good drive by him as well. The second Valkyrie, Matteo De Campo, I think he drove the Cadillac last season, if I'm not mistaken. So he made the change from the Cadillac to the Valkyrie.
I think he drove the Ferrari last season.
Oh, he did, yeah, sorry. Yeah, he drove the Ferrari, of course. So he did make a change from the Ferrari 499P to the Valkyrie, currently only in 16th, a second off the pace so far. But it's a decent lap so far. It's a bit slower into Sector 2. That's still an improvement. It's good to see him up around P10, I think. The grid is so close. The top 17 is within a second. That's incredibly close, of course. So the smallest gain or the smallest mistake can cost you or gain you a lot in this qualifying session. So this could be on for quite a big improvement here. through Sunset Bend as we enter the final minute of qualifying for the Hypercar field. It is P16 now, and it is P13 only. So it is an improvement, but only just.
Killed him.
Yeah.
Absolutely destroyed him there. Matty Di Campo, let's not forget, winner of this race last season with a brilliant fuel-saving strategy, of course. So it was a great finish between, I think it was him and Bassan that were fighting over that win in the end, as Antonio Fedele, another I was going to say Cadillac convert because it's alliterative, but he's a Valkyrie convert, which is what I should have said, and now correcting myself. He is half a second down in the middle sector, so I think that's really the weak part of the track for the Valkyrie in qualifying trim. Let's hope they can find some time in the race. He does get up to P11, though, so better effort final run than Di Campo. 17 seconds left on the clock. Is anybody still out there, or is that it? I think that's
pretty much it, yeah.
There we go. So another very, very close qualifying session, and it is Barzenk, I think, that will start on pole position in the gold split for the very, very first time in his career.
Yeah, that's a very good qualifying for him. I'll just quickly run through the LMGT3 field, and then I'll leave the hypercars to you, Ed. It is Matteo De Bueno who is on pole position in LMGT3. It's a 2:00.3, so very quick indeed. Mattia Panchi, the McLaren, just behind him on 23 thousandths of a second behind Matteo De Bueno. Kevin Boer in third, Giacomo Teresi in fourth after a disappointing race and qualifying in Silverstone. Jack Bolger fifth, Rontaard in sixth in the end, Battistella in seventh, Kolosov, our poor man from 2 weeks ago in P8, Clement Skynsel, the winner of 2 weeks ago in P9, and Michel Rodriguez rounds up the top 10, only 0.5 of a second behind pole position. It's Julien Guerin in P11, Luca Rubin Rieu in P12, Jules Neal in 13th, Leproux P14, Galetti in P15, Zoranovic in 16th, Rappen in P17, and Kurjan in P18. So that's the top 17 within a second there.
Indeed. And meanwhile, here is your hypercar. Yeah, confirmation. And Barzenk takes pole position by 13 thousandths of a second from the very impressive Eric Noetzold then. But yeah, Barzenk looking to go one better than he did at Silverstone. We did say he's gone from third at Spa at the end of last season, second at Silverstone. So if these trends continue, Barzenk is on course at the moment, but of course, long way to go. Lucas Cedar, he gets onto the head of the second row in his Cadillac. Matteo Bassan, with a late lap, our pole sitter from Silverstone, gets up to P4, just beats Robin Deschamps by 5 thousandths of a second. So the Peugeot 9X8 will start in P5. Francesco Pezzin in the Valkyrie will start P6. Filippo Bicatti will start P7, just ahead of our third place man from last race, Francesco Adamu. Fabian Roth will start P9, and David Nashki-Dashvili in the Ferrari will round out the top 10. Behind him is Antonio Fedele in his Valkyrie, just ahead of Nicolas Ulrich. Marco Beltrami, our winner from Silverstone, will start down in P13, just ahead of Matteo Di Campo, winner of this race last season. Michele De Rezzo in another 9X8 will start P15. Alphonse Vellin will start P16 in his Porsche. Nathan Perron in the Alpine down in 17th, just ahead of Daniele Farinelli. And then Mohamed Colombo, very difficult qualifying session for the Briton. Mohamed will start P19, 3.1 seconds off the pace. So it looks like he never quite got a lap together there. Let's hope Mohamed has a better race.
Yeah, hopefully for him, he did have an exciting Silverstone, to say the least. He failed to take the checkered flag there after multiple incidents. So hopefully for him, starting from the back, he's able to have less contact or less incidents this time around and score some good points. And the Alpine, one of two drivers who to take the Alpine. Of course, the other one is Nathan Perron that we mentioned earlier. So it couldn't really gone any worse than 2 weeks ago for him. So hopefully it'll go a lot better.
Yeah. By the way, if any of our top 5 win in Hypercar, that would be their first win in the gold split, of course, because Matteo Bassan has gotten a lot of second places and podium finishes yet to win in the gold split. Very, very keen to put that right. He's got a chance now after the disappointment of Silverstone to put that behind him and fight for not only another podium, but potentially victory if he can get on terms with Noetzold and Barzenk, who I think are going to be the main threats. But don't forget Lucas Cedar either. He is definitely a bit of a dark horse too. And then GD3 Di Buono, another driver keen to put the misfortune of Silverstone behind him. But Matteo Panchi, very, very quick. It's difficult to really choose between those two, I think. And then Kevin Bauer, always there or thereabouts, as we saw at Silverstone, could well pick up the pieces if anything goes wrong ahead. Jakob Matrese, another driver, keen to get his first points on the board. Tatum Esports, they're very used to success, and Matrese, too, will be keen to get on the podium for the first time this season.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. It was a very difficult race for Matrese in Silverstone. I think he qualified in like around P12, yeah. So and finished there as well. So no points for him yet. So he'll be hoping to set that right within the next 80 minutes.
Here we go then. So our sprint event, it is 80 minutes, but it is a sprint. I may have to leave after the first couple of laps to go eat dinner, but don't worry about that because that should be 10 minutes of Sverre Coleman's soothing tones. Anyway, Mateusz Barzink then starting for pole position in the number 77 Cadillac for the first time. Notzold already just starting to, because he's got the apex, he reaches the inside first, but Barzink will be very, very keen not to lose the lead at the start here, because Notzold looks like the kind of driver that if he gets the lead, he can just sprint off into the distance, given half a chance, I think. That's what he was threatening to do in qualifying until Barzink pulled out a bit of a blinder lap then. Coming out of Sunset then for the first time. And towards the start finish line. We are moments away from starting round 2 of the Gold Split here in Season 4. And when we do, it will be Barzink and De Buono leading away from their respective pole positions. They built around as they approach turn 1. We are underway here at Sebring, and Bassan has made a lightning getaway from 4th on the grid. He's going up the inside of Notzold into turn 1. They run a little bit wide. Cedar in the Fisher Esports nearly trying to go up the inside. It's free wide between Cedar, Dichon and Bassan into turn 3, and it's Bassan that holds on there as Robin Dichon has to wait for a better opportunity. Meanwhile, Matrese has jumped past Panchi, who's made a terrible start. Panchi's round. I think Panchi made contact with Kevin Bauer. And massive incident there involving most of the pack. There's Kevin Bauer, our second place man in the championship, facing the barrier. What happened here, Sverre?
Yeah, that's Panchi in 4th place there. So I think he got hit on the back coming into turn 2. Oh, he hit the Porsche there. Inside. Yeah, and then it's just a hit after hit after hit. Yeah, so multiple major hits on the McLaren. I think it's crabbing there. That's probably massive suspension damage, and I think that's his race pretty much over at this point. Oh, keep it on the road, keep it on the road. Barely hangs on there. I think that car is pretty much done right straight away after, well, not even the opening lap. Hitting the Valkyrie, the Lamborghini there as well. So he's now all the way down in 18th after lap 1, after starting in 2nd place.
So it's really mixed up, basically second downwards in LMGD3. Jakob Matrese, he's gone 4th to 2nd. Arthur Rontard has made a great start to get up to 3rd. Remember, he was leading large chunks of Silverstone on alternate strategy. Batistella's gone from 6th to 4th. And Kolosov, I think, who was he like 8th or 9th on the grid, has gotten up to P5. So very, very good start from the Russian driver.
Yep, indeed. So he is trying to make up from that disappointing qualifying session. He is currently looking down the inside of Clemens Keinsel. No, he is being attacked by Clemens Keinsel, of course. Apologies, in the Fisher Racing Team Ferrari. Down the inside of the Sunset Bend. And he gets that job done rather nicely indeed. So the Ferrari showing some good pace here in the opening lap.
Well, Kolosov also may have got damage. I think Bauer, he was the first car that Bauer made contact with as he was out of control there. So not much that Valentin could have done Vladislav, could have done to avoid that one. Yeah,
for sure. So hopefully for him the damage isn't all that major and he's able to continue with some good pace in the Lamborghini. We've seen the Lamborghini already struggle on race pace in Silverstone, so any damage added to that won't really help at all over the course of a long race, even though it's only 80 minutes in that regard. So hopefully for him it won't be too major and he'll be able to continue in 6th place. Meanwhile, Notzold is hanging on the back of Mateusz Barzink, who's still leading the Hypercar pack. There's already gap forming behind Notzold though, 1.5 seconds to Bassan. And that Cadillac of Notzold is really working well here. He's just behind Mateusz Barzink. Barzink nipped him on pole position by 13 thousandths of a second, so there's pretty much no pace difference between these two. And I think it's only a matter of time before Notzold will try to go for a move here.
Yep, but unfortunately, dinner is ready, so it's only a matter of time until I return, hopefully, and hopefully I won't miss too much. But anyway, I'm going to have to leave you just temporarily, Sverre. in order so that I don't collapse from exhaustion before the end of this one. But there we go. Barzink versus Notesalt, and De Buono holding off Matrese convincingly in the GT3 lead battle as well. So I'm sure it's far from done and dusted just yet. I'll be back very shortly.
Yep, we'll see Ed back in about 10 minutes, but this battle isn't going anywhere, of course. But Nutsolt still in the slipstream of Barzank in these opening stages. Materesi had a great start in LMGT3. He's currently in second place as we're on board with Julian Guerin in the Porsche 992, following that's the Shadow 1 Esports Mercedes AMG just in front. And Julian Guerin, of course, he had a great qualifying and finished third, of course, in Silverstone 2 weeks ago. Currently down in 9th place, so he is trying to put the Porsche back up to a place where it belongs. Also part of Shadow 1 Esports, of course. So fighting with their teammates isn't always a good idea. So he tried to keep it as clean as possible. Meanwhile, in the back, it is the Peugeot 9X8 holding up pretty much the entire field behind him. So that's actually in 7th place in the single Ferrari there. And in front of him, that will be 32. And let's see, that is... Where's my sheet? I can see the 32 on there, so I'll come back to that in a moment. There we go. It is Dijon, of course. No, Adamu in the Cadillac there with Dijon just ahead in the Peugeot 9X8. Especially in 7th place, Beccati in P8, Petz in P9, and Fabian Roth in P10. The 222 kind of holding up the entire grid there. That Peugeot kind of surprisingly quite high up there after qualifying. But he is not able to hold on to that good pace there during the race in these opening stages. And just entire train behind them at this point. You can see the entire field there just driving behind the French car there. So he'll be feeling the pressure breathing down his neck for sure. Coming down the Sunset Bend again for, I think, it's lap 4 at this point. Barzank is kind of pulling a gap on Nutsolt already. That's about a second now. So he is clearly able to pull away just a little bit compared to the Cadillac behind him. The gap to Bassan and Nutsolt is growing ever so slightly. It's now just under 2 seconds. So I think the top two has a bit more pace compared to the rest of the field, but it's still very, very close behind those indeed. Let's take a look at the standings right now in the LMG3. It's still De Buono who had a good start there. But the Carnage behind, of course, now sees Penci a lap down in 18th position. So our second place runner and the man who took that gamble 2 weeks ago at Silverstone, staying out on the wet tires, is now down in 18th. So it will be very difficult for him to score any points here tonight. It's Materesi in second place now, as we see him move by Michel Rodriguez around the outside of Rafael Rapin into turn 1, potentially in the McLaren. Oh, he hits the Mercedes on the outside there. It goes very deep into turn 1. And a bit of suboptimal line there, flashing the lights there by the Mercedes AMG. Not happy with how that move was done. Let's see a replay then. On the outside, the McLaren goes. And I think he just squeezed it just a little bit too much there. It's a bit difficult to see from that angle. I'm sure the stewards might have a look at that. But the Mercedes is clearly not happy as he is now moved down into P8. With the 46 McLaren now up into 6th place. So I think someone else dropped out from there as well. Not really sure where that happened. So as we show, Rodriguez up into 6th place for qualifying in 10th earlier on. You see another replay there of this. That's Materesi, who is now down the order in 14th. So something has happened to Giacomo Materesi. He was in 2nd place for a while, but is now down in 14th position again. So again, very disappointing by Giacomo Materesi. So much experience from him already here at the VMS. And now down in 13th position after assuming some contact somewhere with cars. So that was now Rontard up into 2nd place. 3 seconds behind De Buono, but Battistella in 3rd. Clemens Keinsel, our winner from last race in Silverstone, now in 4th after qualifying in 9th place, and Kolosov in 5th position. So drama all over the field in this still opening stage of the 80 minutes of Sebring. Just over 8 minutes are done around here. The gaps are still very, very close indeed between all these drivers. Still Guerin looking down the rear wing of the Mercedes in front of him. Oh, very close there to contact into Sunset Bend. you don't really want to hit another car, let alone your teammate. That's the last thing that you want. You see the Shadow 1 rear wing there of the Mercedes AMG in front, making their way through turn 1. Of course, the tricky conditions, not just on these cars, but on the track itself, very, very bumpy indeed. It makes it all the more tricky and all the more easy to make a big mistake. Lock up. You see him move there down the inside by Luca Robin-Rieu on the inside of the Lamborghini. And that's a drop down. The Porsche up into 11th place. He passes Zoranovic into turn 2. Aaron Dames and Lamborghini Huracan over the gravel there. So flashing the lights as well. Not really sure why he's doing that, but a suboptimal run there after turn 1, hitting the gravel, and it's Rieu into 11th. Lamborghini's not done yet though. He's still along, trying to go around the outside once again. Now on the inside towards the Cunningham corner. Tries to hang it on around the outside. Is he able to make it stick? I don't think he is. Well, actually he is. And it's a magnificent move there by the Lamborghini Huracan. Zoranovic up into 11th again after passing Rieu into Cunningham corner. Now through tower turn. Very nice move indeed. So that puts Rieu back into 12th place again. It is ahead of the number 14, and I think also ahead of Giacomo Materazzi that we saw earlier dropping back. It is actually Giacomo Materazzi, of course, in the number 14. So we know he has some good pace in that Mustang. Of course, home race for the Mustang brand as well. So he'll be hoping to get past rather quickly indeed. That's Jack Bolger in 10th now. So he had a bit of a hit somewhere, I think, as well. This was up there in 5th at the start. So I think he might have been involved with that big crash at the early stages as well. That saw. Penci, of course, dropping down into 18th and left behind, so that I think he was involved with that incident there as well at the opening lap. As you can see, there's close the gap again to Bassan up front. He's still really quite dropping back compared to Nutsold and Barzeng. The gap between those two is it's been around a second and a half for a couple of laps now. Oh, being held up by the traffic also, that's Penci there, so there's a hit by the Cadillac at the rear of Penci, who is just in the way there as a lapped LMG through traffic. Let's see the replay of what happened there. Matteo Bassan out in front, followed by the purple car of Lucas Cedar. Gets held up there. Oh, Cedar just driving in the back of them of Matteo Bassan. So very impressive that he was able to catch that again and held the car on track. But a hit by Lucas Cedar on the rear of Matteo Bassan. I'm sure he'll have some damage from that. As Bassan was held up by the 720S of Penci into turn 1. So he won't be too happy with that, I would imagine so. C98 is really putting on some pressure on the 16 car in front. Some small mistakes here and there, but I'm sure he is carrying some at least minor damage on the rear of the car. Not looking too happy out there. Penci really throwing his pen in the works for most of the hypercar field now. They're not expecting the LMGT3 traffic to start so soon, but with a left car there, that's not really in your hands. So all of these cars are now trying to find a way through. Always nice to see such a diverse field, even in a mostly Cadillac-dominated field here. It's always nice to see some multiple car brands fighting each other for a position. As now the true LMG3 traffic is starting, making their way through the back end of the field. This is the Lamborghini we saw earlier fighting with the Porsche up front. Oh, very close. Oh, that's hitting each other there. There's a massive contact there with Nutsold and the Porsche number. That's I forgot what number it is, but a massive contact there on the inside as they're trying to force their way by, really making huge
one of the
contact
Shadow
all over
1
the place.
cars. That must be.
It was the Shadow 1 cars, yes. As
there was
we
also
back,
Barzeng hitting, so yeah, there wasn't really a moment to tuck in there. Oh, and again, more braking as Oh dear, that's Cedar getting very crossed up in the middle of the GD3 pack, and that can give an opportunity to Bassan then, as they thread around the outside of Rafael Rapin and towards the Cunningham corner. Bassan on the outside, so Cedar just holds on by the skin of his teeth. Robin Deschamps is closed in the 222 in all of this as well. The Peugeot looking for its opportunity. Into Tower Corner they go, side by side with the Mercedes. He just leaves enough room there. But yeah, Mateo Bassan having almost an opportunity there, but Cedar's lost a lot of time in all this. Look at the gap to Notesold, extended to 3 seconds now, so there's more yellow flags out there.
Yeah, so the traffic really not working in the favor of Cedar there, dropping back quite massively. That is Colombo in the pit lane. Yeah, he was struggling on pace at the early stages already, so he's dropping back quite massively now. So that's over a minute already. Not really sure why the early pit stop is happening there. Just look at it, it's 4 wide everywhere basically. Wow, the traffic is insane at this part as cars pretty much everywhere. It's very difficult to see who is where. As we see, that's the Campo on the inside of the red, so I think trying to make use of the traffic, holding him up. As there's literally cars all over the road here.
Yeah, Farinelli
that's 4
involved in
wide
this
there
as well at the back. As up the inside comes Di Campo. Is there going to be enough space? Makes a bit of contact with the yellow and black Peugeot, but it looks like Michele De Rezzo just holding on then as he attempts to keep up with Marco Beltrami, the championship leader, right in front of him as well. So they're all being squished into each other behind their Fabian Roth in P9 essentially.
Yeah, it's. I'm just trying to make some sense of what is happening in front of me, because there's literally just cars everywhere, and it's very difficult to grasp what is happening. Oh, that's a Peugeot looking up massively there into to the hairpin, trying to overtake yet another LMGT3 car. That is the Rezzo, still fighting off Matteo De Campo. And they're just trembling all over each other. It's a miracle to me that there's not been any more incidents. It's Nathan Perron, I think, lapping Mohamed Colombo there in the purple Alpine there. So he's dropped back a lap on these guys already after the very early pit stop. Just no pace in that car. So, and that's I'm just trying to understand what is happening in front of me.
Well, I'm trying to understand something as well, because Matresi's dropped from P2 to P11. That did happen while I was eating, so I'm fortunate for that. But I didn't see what happened there. Was that something we caught on stream? Or?
Unfortunately, not. No, we were looking at another replay actually. Well,
because that was before the hypercars came to lap them, so I assume
it was. Yeah,
had some sort of incident with potentially Rontard behind, or maybe De Bueno himself. I'm not sure.
I think it was Rontard, yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense then. But yeah, either way, it's really helped out Matteo De Bueno as we see this battle continuing on as Nathan Perron tries to catch up to Farinelli. And they've got, I think, Di Campo right in front of them too as they go into turn 1. Pardon me, sorry. I just had to sneeze there, couldn't be helped. As Alfonso Bellin at the same time completely goes wide into turn 1, leaves the gap for Fidele to barge his way through in the Valkyrie. There we go into 3 and 4, and Fidele definitely taking advantage there. It almost looked like contact there with that's Rontard as well, our second place GD3 man, that Velin just absolutely tried to dive in and understeered his way almost off track.
Yeah, again, I've said it before. I'm just it's kind of insane to me that there hasn't been any more incidents. Oh, look at that 3 wide through there as well through the Funcho chicane. It's left cars everywhere. Fidele on the outside trying to defend on Velin behind again as he's past the Porsche. The Porsche kind of dive bombing the second place LMGT3 car there into turn 1, not wanting to lose a single second there compared to the cars around him. The gaps are still so very close that these drivers will take a lot of risks just to stay behind the other cars around them. Even at the later stages of this race, as Velin and Adamu are fighting for P17 here, but they're still taking every risk that they're able to take to maximize their position on track. And all this is just playing in the favor of Barzank, who's at 2 seconds clear of Nutsold, who on his part is over 3 seconds clear of Lucas Sitter behind. So this is really working in the favor of some drivers, but really working against some other drivers in this field.
It'll be interesting if Nutsold and Barzank, how hard they're pushing, whether they're trying to get their virtual engine fuel and maybe even their tyres as well to go a bit longer than those that have been squabbling in the pack further behind. As here we go, Zoranovic is lining up Rafael Rapin in the Shadow 1 Mercedes AMG. The Lamborghini to the outside, bright pink, you can't miss it. Here comes Zoranovic trying to go the longest of long way rounds in the fight for P8. Rapin has got the inside, blocks off the apex and forces the Lamborghini to back up, and that is backing Zoranovic into, I think, Julian Gurin, or is it? No, it's another Porsche 992 that's right behind them in this pack as well. And you've got, I think, Jules Neal ahead. Side by side goes Zoranovic, that's Bolger, sorry, behind them. Zoranovic and the Mercedes of Rapin. And Zoranovic this time goes through around the outside at turn 1 there. So that was bold from the Lamborghini there. But Zoranovic definitely well timed in his move there. He was on the outside, but then had to really stick his nose in to complete the move. And to his credit, Rapin didn't run him off wide off track. The number 4 Mercedes playing very, very fair, and Bolger almost trying to follow through and barging into the back there. There wasn't really enough space for Jack Bolger to barge his way in as well, but he's going to try again into the hairpin there as they go through Fangio, and Zoranovic is just causing a massive train of cars behind him now, and there's the recovering Jaco Matrese then.
Yeah, we've seen this before with Zoranovic defending, and as the Mercedes goes down the inside again, I think, of Cunningham corner. Not really sure if they were both able to make it. Now he forced him wide, kind of. He is through, though. Not really sure if it was according to the rules, but we've seen these two battling out throughout the race at this point. And every time the Lamborghini gets past, he is just able to sneak his way back up again, but not really able to pull away from the driver. And, oh, that's big contact there between Rapin.
So just about made the corner as well. Lucky the Lamborghini was there, and I think we're about to see Jack Bolger get picked off by Luca Rubinroux. So Bolger goes to the racing line. Rubinroux absolutely sends it into Tower Corner, and he gets up a place, just sneaks into the bottom end of the points, 10th position, the final point there. That's also opened it up for Jaco Matrese, who I think is also going to try and follow through into the Bishop's Bend here and into the Genderbeen Bend too. But Matrese finds the way blocked, and now Johan Kurjin in his Ford Mustang is also looking at the back of the Taken Sportsman as well. So the big train then behind Rafael Rapin continues, and Zoranovic is going to have to go back to the drawing board here.
Yeah, that battle between Rapin and Zoranovic is really putting all these cars right behind them. We see the Mustangs almost hitting each other there as well through turn 1. Oh, very wide there by Rapin. He goes off track. Oh no!
So nearly hit the Lamborghini as well as he rejoins next to Kurji and Leproux. Oh, makes contact with Leproux. Those two are teammates at Shadow 1. So not an amazing moment there for Rafael Rapin. Loses loads of positions.
Yeah, went very wide there in turn 1 over the gravel and just lost the rear, I think, coming back on the track. Yeah. Massive hit at the barrier. And trying his best not to hit his teammate, who was out of 13th, but he did nonetheless. So I think that's massive damage there on the side of the Mercedes AMG. Meanwhile, Materesi now under attack by Karjan on the inside into that's Cunningham corner again, and still on the inside though. Tries to defend it side by side through Cunningham, and he's able to stay ahead for now. Through Collier, there you go. Into tower turn, and it should be Materesi's place done. Still, he's still in the 11th. So
bump in the back there as they get on the brakes for Tower. Yellow flags out there somewhere. What's also interesting is that Gurin has just jumped Keinzel for P4, as I believe we have lost Mohamed Colombo from the race. And you can see the front end of that Alpine looking very badly scraped and damaged indeed. The paintwork is flaked off. He loses the rear end into sunset, and he's just facing the wall on the inside. That's a bit of a not the most glorious end to his race, I think, to put it mildly. So he joins Bauer and Kolosov on the list of retirements then. But yeah, crucial move there. Our championship leader jumped by Julian Gurin. Him, De Buono are two of the big threats to him in the standings, of course.
Yeah, for sure. So that's Keinzel's not really happy out there. Disappointing qualifying. He's still only in 5th place in that Ferrari after quite a decent start, but not really able to make up any places after that. So he does seem comfortable though. I think there is some pace in that Ferrari, so he just has to be patient and try to get them pick them off one by one. But it's not all that easy out there. Of course, luckily for him though, there's just the normal point score here today. 2 weeks ago there was a 1.5 times point score, so he got 38 points instead of the regular 25. So the amount of points that he is losing today will be not as much as he would have otherwise during an endurance round.
Yeah, comments in the chat. Let's go, Rapin, says Tech6747, as we see Luca Rubin-Roo fighting away with Jack Bolger in for 9th position. So Bolger is trying to regain the place that was snatched away from him at very short notice there. So Luca Rubin-Roo really caught Jack Bolger off guard, and that's the second race in a row that Bolger has had the wool pulled over his eyes, so to speak. You remember at the end of Silverstone as well, where he lost that podium fight with Matej Panci and Julian Gurin then. Meanwhile, David Natchki-Dashvili having a much better run than Silverstone in P7, fighting away with Filippo Beccati for 6th position. And of course, Filippo Beccati did take 10th on the final 2 points at Silverstone. David Natchki-Dashvili retired early doors then, so he is looking to really improve on his start of the season in that Ferrari then, having a much stronger qualifying session. And Beccati, who is sort of on the cusp of the top 5 at the moment, falling away from Robin Deschamps, who is, I think, quite a few seconds up the road then. Potentially, David Natchki-Dashvili is going to start to complain that the Fischer Esports Ferrari is being held up here, and will need to think a way through as we cut back to Fabian Roth holding back Nicholas Ulrich. And then behind them, we've got our championship leader Beltrami, who's stayed ahead of Dorezzo in P11, but he's still agonizingly a bit too far back from the final points paying position. So Tatum Esports, they've got to hope Beltrami is running long in this first stint, maybe for looking for an aggressive second stint after the pit stop that he can maybe capitalize on. But at the moment, progress has been quite slow down there at the bottom end of the top 10.
Yeah, I might be mistaken, but I think there is no Tatum Esports car in the top 5 at the moment. It's a... of course, there's Basan in 4th,
Basan,
but
yeah.
that's the only Tatum Esports car placed in the top 5. It's a huge difference compared to 2 weeks ago, where they were locking out top 3 pretty much every time, with Barzank the only exception there. So the Tatum really struggling around this circuit clearly. With the exception being Basan, who's still in 4th.
And Basan's been caught leader by Robin Deschamps as well, who's within about a second of him too. So of course he did have Adamu up there at the start, and I think Adamu really hit trouble early doors and is near the back of the Hypercar pack then as we look at Natchki-Dashvili. If anything, more under attack from the Valkyrie of Francesco Pesin, who had a strong qualifying, didn't he? And is now starting to recover after having a steady start to the race there as Roth and Ulrich continuing to squabble over P9. So as Fabian Roth picked his moment here, this is on the run towards the hairpin. Roth sees a gap on the inside. The Valkyrie launches its way through late on the brakes into the hairpin, but he gets it stopped in time there. So good move there from Nicholas Ulrich, on Roth in the Fischer Racing Cadillac. So.
Yeah, that's a very good move on from the Valkyrie there indeed. Valkyrie very strong on the straight line speed, as well on the brakes at some point. So a good move done indeed. So we are now on board again by the other Valkyrie of Francesco Petzin, who is still following Natchki-Dashvili in the Fischer Racing Team Ferrari 499P. Well, I'm just going to say what a difference this season can make. Of course, last season 3, when we were here, we had, I think, like 8 Ferrari 499Ps all over the field, and it was the car of choice, of course. And now he is the single one, and he's not really up there as well, only in 7th place so far. So the Ferrari really has fallen off his throne at this stage of in the game, pretty much, with the Cadillac being the car of choice. But it's kind of sad to see how the golden days of the Ferrari 499P are seemingly over at this point.
Well, I mean, there is an update still coming as the 15th place Mercedes just lets our 6th place battle in Hypercar go through, as there's Jules Neal holding off Zoranovic as there's a big lockup ahead of them, but no consequence for Jules Neal, who's more looking behind him at that Iron Dames pink Lamborghini of Zoranovic chasing him down. So Jules Neal, who qualified, I think, was it 11th or 12th on the grid, has made good progress here into the top 7. He finished top 8 at Silverstone as well, didn't he? He was 8th, just got passed by De Buono in the end. He was another that gambled on the wet, staying out on the wet tyres, doing one less stop at the end there. But that is a very menacing looking Lamborghini Huracan that is bearing down upon him. Oh, and they've got to let the number 16 through. That must be
Basan.
Yeah, Matteo Basan then, who is trying to keep the Peugeot Dichon at bay, who's within about 3.5 tenths of a second now. So as close as this battle between Neal and Zoranovic here, and Strinja Zoranovic, who of course finished just outside the points in P11 behind Rodriguez at Silverstone, is keen to get 4 to his name, potentially 6 or 5 or 6 if he can clear Jules Neal for P7 here. But Jules Neal, of course, has been around the block at this point. He's gone from being the young up-and-comer, the new boy, to being one of the more experienced drivers in this field. As up the inside comes the 44. That must be...
Becchetti.
Yeah, Becchetti, who's still being chased by the Fisher Racing number 67, of course. That's Nashkidashvili, of course, in the Ferrari, who we're just talking about.
There's a great view on the rear of the Lamborghini, seeing the hypercar field coming through as we now have 2 Valkyries fighting there. Nicolas Ulrich has caught the back of Francesco Petzin, who was looking at the back of Nashkidashvili that you were mentioning earlier. So
Ulrich, now he's been released, he seems to have really good pace since passing Fabian Roth, doesn't he? Because he's caught Pezzin in no time here, and that's a bit concerning. If you're the Valkyrie trying to hold up the sister, the jet black Valkyrie of Ulrich, lock up there for Francesco Pezzin. So clearly his focus had shifted from Nashkidashvili ahead of him to Ulrich behind.
Yeah, it's about a second now to Nashkidashvili. It was about a second and a half earlier on. So the traffic not really working in the favor of the first Valkyrie there. Again, being held up by one of the Shadow 1 esports cars there, the Porsche. And now the Nicolas Ulrich really hunting him down there, breathing down his neck, the second Valkyrie there. And the gap to Nashkidashvili again is now about 1.3 seconds. So Petzin really dropping back at this stage. Traffic not working in his favor at all. And now he has to worry for his P8. We'll be following him through sector 3 there. Being able to follow quite closely there, the second Valkyrie, the 999.
50 minutes to go then, as we see Neil Zoranovic has got the inside into Le Mans chicane. They've got 3 hypercars waiting for their turn in the battle for 14th place then. So through they all go, and there's Nathan Perron. What a difference 2 weeks makes. Perron gone from fighting for P4 in the mixed conditions to well outside the points, fighting with Fideli and Farinelli, the 2 Fs in front of him. Neil trying to get back on song with Strahinja Zoranovic, but Zoranovic is looking to consolidate that advantage in the Lamborghini. Another thing to keep your eyes on, we saw briefly as they were lapping, Battistella is being caught hand over fist by Julian Gurin, who's got the gap to our championship leader Keinsel to 3.5 seconds in. So Gurin is having an absolutely fantastic race from where he qualified and is now fighting for the podium.
Yeah, we've seen some major support for Gurin, of course, in the YouTube chat as well. So he's really putting that to good use, and he's up there. It's a very good performance by him so far, on par pretty much with De Bueno and Rontard, who are 5 seconds clear of Battistella and each other. So Guerin really close to that gap to Battistella, and he could be on for a podium finish here again. He finished, of course, 3rd 2 weeks ago in Silverstone as well. So he's trying to recreate that finish from back then too. So it's a gap we're gonna have to keep our eye on.
Certainly, along with this little fight between Dichon and Matteo Besson then. So Besson far from closing in on Lucas Cedar. Cedar, since it being held up in the early phase of the traffic, has actually built a pretty decent gap. There he is. As you can see, somebody smoking up the road just ahead of them. Who is that? Is it Eric Notzold?
I think it is, yeah.
There we go. So the Cadillac just starting to overheat.
Yeah.
And that could be a problem. We saw this, didn't we? For, what was his name? The German driver in Platinum Split that was on pole position.
Let me just check. Gimbal.
Henrik Gamble. That was it, yes.
Yeah.
So Gamble, of course, had this same issue where the car was overheating. Of course, he was driving, I don't think he was driving, he might have been driving a Cadillac actually, but either way, he had set it up very much to go for pole position there. As we see, I think Velen has fallen 2 laps down, so that would imply he may well be out of the running. As this is good news for Barzik then, because Notzold has clearly pushed the car to the point where the temperatures have skyrocketed, and there's a danger that if he doesn't back off soon or pit soon and get some of that radiator tape off, because it's clearly the radiators that are overheating, hence the smoke. You can see even in the wing mirror the trail, and it's a telltale trail, isn't it? That it tells exactly what's happening to that engine and the cooling system starting to malfunction here. So Notzold then, he's been able to keep Barzink in sight to the tune of 2 seconds, but this is worrying times for him because the German has got to make a decision here. Do I keep pushing and risk the engine blowing up, or do I back off and watch Matthias Barzink gain a bit of a gap on me at the end of this stint?
Yeah, as we're just looking at the virtual energy on the left-hand side of the screen moments ago, it's a similar situation for both the leaders there in Hypercar. In LMGT3 though, crucially, Rontaard on a lot more percentage than the cars around him, so he'll be able to extend his stint for just a little bit more.
That's what he did at Silverstone as well, and it did allow him to lead for a fair chunk of that race, especially with the weather changing. It's not going to be a factor here because there's 0% chance of rain on the radar. So unless something truly exceptional and bizarre happens, then Rontaard really is just looking to... he could potentially get undercut by the likes of Gurin and Battistella if he's not careful, if he stays out too long. But you would think he's got maybe 5-6% more than the drivers around him. It's going to be more the case of he's able to stay out maybe 3 or 4 laps at most. There's another yellow flag that briefly pops up and disappears. But Julien Gurin, the Frenchman, very much on a mission. And you can tell here that he's starting to get really, really comfortable with this Porsche 992. After his late charge at Silverstone, he is once more looking to make a move. And this time it's the Lamborghini of Stefano Battistella, who I think Battistella missed, of course, the first round at Silverstone, but has had a very, very clean run. Took advantage of the early troubles for the likes of Matrese and Panchi and Bauer, and has gotten up to P3. But it's going to be difficult to hold on to his podium. Gurin tucks in right behind and is looking to get the best possible exits. They both flirt with the wall, flirting with disaster as well as they accelerate towards turn 1. And where is Gurin going to try and make this move? I think he's going to try and set up something for the hairpin here. So Battistella would be wise to get defensive maneuvers on, because there's a bit of a gap behind to Keinzel, 3 seconds, and they are a long way behind, 6 seconds behind Arthur Rontaard here. So really, he's got nothing to lose by defending here at the moment, as Battistella.
Yeah, could this again be the Lamborghini just dropping back ever so slightly during the race? Well, I'm saying that the Bueno is of course also in the Lamborghini, and he's still very much 5 seconds clear of Arthur Rontaard, who is still in second.
So pits.
Yep, there we go. I was going to mention this. Luckily for Nutsold, he is already in that pit window. He can pit now and put it to the end. So if he, with this pretty much earlier pit stop compared to the rest of the field, it won't cost him too much, and he will be able to rip that the tape from the ducts, the ventilation ducts of the car off, and hopefully solve that engine overheating problem.
Yeah, we saw with Henrik Gamble that towards the end of the first stint he was really struggling when the smoke started to appear and he was losing places hand over fist. But once he'd taken the radiator tape off, all of a sudden his pace was transformed and he was really challenging. As here we go, Zoranovic is caught up to the back of Michel Rodriguez, and Rodriguez, the super Swede, typically doing Rodriguez things, isn't he? He has quietly gotten his way up to P6 by staying out of trouble, and now Zoranovic is fancy taking that P6 off him. And in fact, the front bumper looking a little damage on Rodriguez as he brakes quite early for the Genderbean bend, and into Le Mans they come. It is the Lamborghini that's through of Zoranovic, so Rodriguez not putting up a big fight in that absolute car, and Jules Neal behind could well be a big threat as well. Is that Adamu coming in from just outside the point stand for his first stop as well?
Yeah, I was kind of confused when I didn't see a car. I was afraid that it was Nutsold out of the race, but it is indeed Adamu in the pit lane there. So
Adamu turning on invisibility mode briefly.
I think that's the way to win every race here. You just put on invisibility, and no one will see you coming. But he is indeed making his pit stop a bit earlier than the rest of the field there as well, as this fight is still going on. Guerin now still behind Battistella, but he's looking much quicker in that Shadow 1 for Porsche 992. The 23 car clearly having more pace than the 96.
Yeah,
and I think it's only a matter of time.
Taking defensive lines, and that is dropping them off the back of Arthur Rontaard by a significant margin. So Guerin needs to make this move fairly quickly here, or potentially use strategy to get past here as they come towards the hairpin. I think Guerin's going to be a little bit too far back for a dive, and he has to back out at the last minute there, just moving around in the wing mirrors almost to scare Stefano Battistella off the road. Another good exit from the hairpin here. It's the Porsche that's got the traction here as they come towards the which corner is this coming up? It's Cunningham corner, of course, before Tower, and again very deep on the brakes from Battistella. So Guerin is able to get alongside through Collier's, a little bit of grass kicked up there. The Lamborghini forces Gurin to go the longest of long rounds. He's got the inside for Tower here. The 96 Lamborghini has been seen off. Julian Gurin is back on the podium into P3. What an exceptional run he's having from where he qualified outside the top 5, and he is flying.
Yep, he surely is. The Lamborghini is not done yet, though. He's still behind them by just over a tenth of a second. But the Lamborghini really struggling out there on those tires, at least as Nescadeshvili goes into the pit lane as well. That's Nutzelt passing him there. So Nescadeshvili pitting from 6th place. Yep, he is. There you go. So both of them dropping back quite significantly from P6, and I think the Campo was in P7 there. So that moves now Ulrich up into P6, Petsen in P7, and that's the second Fisher Racing team in P8. Yep, he is. He was behind them, of course, for a long time. So the Valkyrie has finally made his way past them.
Barzenk pits from the lead as well, so that's going to be fascinating to see where he comes out relative to Eric Nutzelt as well, because it could have been a longer stop for Nutzelt to get the radiator tape off, unless he is risking it at the in. Comes Francesco Pezzin, sliding the rear. Can he get it stopped? Yes, he can. Wow.
Oh,
he
it's
just
the wall.
bumps the wall as he rejoins, but that really puts Adam, who's sliding on the brakes at Silverstone, to shame. Beltrame also pits in behind. It's a crucial stop for the championship leader. So lucky the pit entry wasn't blocked by the time he arrived there. That could have been a very disastrous situation for both of them.
Had that gap been any closer between those two drivers, then that could have been dramatic for the championship here indeed. But luckily they both got away with it with only a small hit by Petsen on the wall.
I think Matteo Bassano's also pit, because Dichon has been let through into what is now 2nd position here as we cut back to Rodriguez. He's been passed, of course, as we saw, by Zoranovic, now Jules Neal in the similar McLaren fences ago. So it's Absolute versus Opelite here in the fight for what is currently P7 on the road. You can see in the background as well, I think that's Jacko Matrese that's closing in on the both of them. 40 minutes to go in this race, and those who haven't pit yet are going to start to see the fuel and virtual energy deplete rapidly here. So this is make up your mind time. This could be a defining point in the race strategically.
Yep, it really can be, as we see that is Petsen now to the pit lane again. Or just coming out of the pit lane. It might have been a long stop there as Beltram goes by as well. So he is now still ahead of Petsen. Oh, it is Petsen.
I'd love to see what the gap is between Nutzelt and Barzenk at the moment. There's Mateusz Barzenk. And was that Nutzelt ahead of him? So Nutzelt is actually undercut.
It is, yeah.
Mateusz Barzenk. So very quick stop actually from Pulse Esports.
And Bassan just behind.
Yeah, there we go. So we've actually got a three-way fight for victories. Robin Dichon pits now. So that is going to surely put him behind Bassan, exactly where he was, having stayed out a lap longer here, or 2 laps longer.
Yeah, so Bassan really has gained a lot in this pit stop phase with Barzenk just up the road, and the newcomer there in the yellow Cadillac leading, or in the net lead once again. The big
question is here, who's got the advantage in terms of virtual energy? As
we're going to have an answer to that.
Yeah, there we go. Nicholas Domino on the ball there. So Nutzelt 90%, 93 for Barzenk, and 89 for Bassan. So both Bassan and Nutzelt have underfueled in terms of virtual energy slightly. So there's a 4% advantage. Small, it might seem small at the moment, but that's going to extend if Barzenk plays his cards well here in this final 30 minutes or so of the race.
Yeah, so both Nutzelt and Bassan gambling on there being one less lap in this race compared to Mateusz Barzenk. He is a lap, or I think it's about 1 lap of fuel more compared to the other two Cadillacs in this race. So it'll be interesting to see how that pays out. But it does put our debutant Erik Nutzelt in a net P1.
But here's the question about Nutzelt, as we see a couple of drivers, Derezzo leading a train of cars at the pits, and there's Robin Dichon, who's been jumped by Derezzo. So I think Dichon may have changed tyres in that pit stop compared to some of the others. Nathan Perron coming out alongside Beltrami, just behind Marco Beltrami, so the championship leader right ahead of him. So Nathan Perron has got another Tatum Esports to perform giant killing feats on as he wishes.
Yes, he has some flashbacks, I'm sure, going on, but it is the championship leader indeed in P11 still. So he qualified down there as well, but he's just not been able to climb up the ladder at all during this race. As you see then Ulrich now coming in as well. There's still Beccati out there on track, and Farinelli might be coming in as well, I think, shortly. That is
A
Fabian
lot of
Roth
damage
as well
to the front
in.
of Ruff's car as well, at least cosmetic.
Yeah, it
There
was.
a very dark, almost a carbon fiber black front nose cone there. So Farinelli's going to go through. So him and Bicatti are extending, and we should see Notsold emerge in front of Cedar Ruff and Ulrich sometime soon. But Notsold is going for it. What I was going to ask about Eric Notsold, has he decided not to remove the radiator tape to have a quicker stop here? Is he? Look at how oversteery that car is as he goes into Tower Corner. Has Notsold taking a risk because the car would have cooled down while it was being serviced? But there's a danger of those temperatures could pop right up again in these final 36 minutes then. So if that happens, then Matteo Passan could well be given an opportunity to fight for the lead on track, or Bazenk rather, and Passan too for that matter.
Yeah, I'm wondering the same thing, but I think it would be a bit, well, not wise, or unwise, that's the word, not to remove those, because there's still 36 minutes to go, and I'm quite sure that your engine cannot stand that heat for that long. So it's a huge risk that he's taking if he has indeed not removed the tape, but I'm quite sure that he has. Otherwise, yeah, I think it will be too much of a gamble to take with still 35 minutes left to go.
We also saw that Clemens Keinzel's been jumped by Zoranovic in the pits there. So Zoranovic, having got his stop done earlier, has gotten up into the top 5. But of course, Keinzel, I think, should have the advantage here, as we saw the two Peugeot swapping positions. So Dichon, I believe, on fresh tyres, being given plenty of room. It looked like DeRezzo went wide on entry, tried to turn into the apex, then suddenly realised Dichon was there, and then had to reluctantly concede that 7th position then. Meanwhile, Beltrami is holding stubbornly onto the final point, and he's closed in onto Nicholas Ulrich in this pit cycle. So Ulrich, who was charging in the first part of the race, now looking a little bit vulnerable here to our championship leader.
Yeah, so Marco Bartram finally making up some places. He's back in the points again after a tough race. It is indeed wide by the Valkyrie up front. It enables the Cadillac to go for a move, I think, coming into Cunningham corner shortly. A bit too far back right now though, so it's stopped back in behind once again in 69 Cadillac. But finally moving up some positions. It's still not a great amount of improvement for Marco Bartram.
We lost Battistella, because I don't see him in the GD3 timing tower, and nor Gurin either. So something has happened here. They both seem to be.
He's in the
there's
pit lane.
Neil and Gurin. So has Gurin had to make a second stop here? And there's Battistella as well.
I think it's the first of the
oh
GT3
right, yeah,
pit
the
stops, actually.
GT3s are a bit out of sequence. There we go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they pitted a bit later on.
Top 5 that pitted yet. Bicatti and Farinelli going very long in this stint in the Hypercar lead at the moment. As there we go, it is Gurin then that's the leader of those that have pit then. So Rontard might have to. He's had that 8-second gap before the pit stops, didn't he? So he should be okay if he responds fairly quickly. De Bruyne not really been closed in by Rontard. 6 seconds currently the gap then. So De Bruyne is managing things pretty magnificently, as there is our other current leader, Bicatti, in the Acylite Cadillac. But he's surely coming in, and the 44 is running on fumes. So predictably comes into the pits much less dramatically than the Valkyrie that we saw earlier. Was it the Valkyrie? I forget who it was.
Yes. It was the Valkyrie indeed, as we see the leader of LMGT3 coming in as well, Matteo De Bueno in his purple pink.
Too.
In, yes, the Lamborghini Huracan, of course, coming in for De Bueno. Farinelli coming in, and that's Clemens Keinzel coming in as well. So I think pretty much every LMGT3 car is coming in this lap or the next. So with a lot, that's Neil and Guerin, of course, taking the undercut there. So they are the only cars on track with a who already make their pit stop in LMGT3. So interesting to see how that plays out with them going for the
Rontard,
undercut.
as expected, running along in this stint.
Yep.
Jack Bolger and Johan Kurgin as well.
Yeah, Rontard of course did that 2 weeks ago as well, I think, like you were mentioning. So Bolger going on. I think Bolger had a bit of an incident.
Headline skill for Rontard, isn't it?
I think Bolger had an incident earlier on at the start of the race as well, but I didn't take a pit stop then, so he's just able to feel safe massively throughout the race as well. But they won out of the pit lane, still in 4th position behind Kurgin, Bolger and Rontard, so he'll come out in P1, I think, after all those drivers make their pit stop.
So he's a good about 10, 9, 8 seconds ahead of Julian Gurin then. So he is safe, as we see out of the pits comes Zoranovic with Keinzel not far away on the back of him as well. So I think actually Zoranovic must have passed Keinzel on the road, not in the pits, as I mistakenly assume, because I got my Hypercar and duty-free pit windows mixed up there.
That's Grurin in the background.
Oh, Gurin has come out right behind Clemens Keinzel there. So we have our third and first place drivers in the championship fighting on the road for what is currently P6. Should actually be P3 once this all filters out.
Yep, down the inside he goes.
Oh!
He hits him. He loses the rear, hits the Ferrari in front of him, goes very deep on the gravel. Yep, don't go to the left, but he doesn't. He manages to stay on track. But a hit there after losing the rear. And to turn 1, let's see a replay then of the pass by Julian Gurin. That was down the inside.
Goes to the left, deep on the brakes. Oh, he slightly locks up the front left, and that sends him on a collision course with Keinzel and into the grass as well. But he just about collects it up then, so a bit of a forceful move, but certainly he didn't intend to sideswipe Clemens Keinzel there. But well, by hook or by crook, he's through, so he's going to try and escape up the road before the stewards have anything to say about that one.
Yeah, I think Clemens Keinzel isn't too happy about how that happened, but he is passed nonetheless, so that is a net P3 then, I think, for him. After all the pit stops are done, it's still De Bueno and Zoranovic out in front, so depending on where the rest of the drivers come out, it puts Zoranovic in a net P2 then. Out of nowhere, pretty much, in the Lamborghini. He was down in 5th earlier on. Not really sure where he got that from, but...
Could have been a shorter fuel stop, maybe, potentially? Or some sort of a little trick. No, maybe he didn't change tyres.
Well, Ronta might be able to slot in between the two drivers there, so it might be
it will be shorter stops for those that pit
yeah.
later, of course, which is the advantage. Meanwhile, Notesol, by the way, 5.5 seconds ahead of Barzek then, so he is trying to put clear daylight between himself and the Polish driver then. So Renova competition, Barzek was leading the early stages, but Notesol has really unleashed his pace. I did say he was threatening to do this. He didn't get in front at the start, but he has used strategy here to get in the mix, even though he is risking it with those temperatures. It seems certainly at the start of the race he was. Through goes Zoranovic then. He is very much in P3 with Gurin 2 seconds behind, so you would think Julian Gurin, with the pace that he's got, he can definitely catch Zoranovic to steal the podium again for the second race in a row. But you can see there Rontard staying out a bit longer. De Bueno has extended the gap by 2 seconds as a result of that undercut.
Yep, as you see a replay of both Valkyries, Fedele and De Campo fighting with, I think it's a back marker? Not really sure.
I think so, yeah. That's the 44 of Bicatti, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Oh. It's on a back marker. Well, he hits them. I think it's some suspension damage for that Valkyrie after a hit or a puncture there.
Yeah, Fedele got muscled out onto the curb there. So
yeah.
It is Bicatti who is fighting them for position then.
Yeah, it is. Just didn't see the name at that point, but it's a kind of a rough defending there by Bicatti, who really doesn't want to lose those places to Valkyries. And for a second
he's gone from fighting for sort of P7, P8 all the way down to outside the points because of that pit stop. So he may have changed tyres as well. He looks so much more confident than that pack of Perron, De Campo and Fedele at this phase. Meanwhile, Beltrami has worked his way into P8, so the championship leader on a bit of a recovery drive himself, but he's been really struggling with that Pedro of De Rezo. Him and De Rezo, he's sort of been following De Rezo in this race, and it's worked out pretty well for him so far, all things considered, considering how far behind he was. As we see defense from Filippo Bicatti, the Valkyrie seems like it's got a lot more top speed as they go into a Sunset Bend there, and indeed the Alpine, we saw its top speed at Silverstone, didn't we, in the hands of Perron. The people were passing him, and he was just going breezing back past them down the hangar straight into Stowe, wasn't he? So seems like he's taken a similar approach here, albeit for 11th position rather than P4 at the moment. And here comes Lucas Cedar, who's trying to take P3 back from Matteo Passan, and Passan just about survives that one. But Lucas Cedar is not in a prisoner-taking mood here. He absolutely wants to have Matteo Passan for dinner here. Oh, and Perron is on the grass.
Yep, the Alpine went off there. He got through the gravel after turn 1 already, and then Bicatti. Oh, that's a massive hit. Yeah, he won't be too happy with that, I imagine. That's a bit of an opportunistic move, and I think the stewards will have a look at that.
Just Bicatti having getting too confident on the brake, locking up, and then being out of control essentially. So not an intentional hit of Perron in any way, shape or form, but unfortunate, especially for Nathan Perron there, who was in a pretty solid P11, could well have snuck into the final point if something happened ahead. Now that task has been made significantly harder. Cedar has a much better exit from the final corner. What can the German do here? Used to be a GT3 driver in the Gold Split, has decided to have a go at hypercars, now goes up the inside in the fight for the podium. Matteo Passan could do nothing to halt the charge of the Fischer Racing Esports man, and that is Cedar back into the P3 that he's held for a large chunk of this race. So Matteo Passan will have to go back to the drawing board, and Robin Deschamps, who was challenging him before the pit stops, is now closing on him again in the background.
Yep, all this battling really working in the favor of Robin Deschamps, currently still in P5, so he was able to stay there throughout the pit stop phase. But Cedar is looking a lot quicker than Matteo Passan at this stage. So again, the Tatum Esports car falling back just a little bit. I don't know really what it is, but the Tatum Esports cars don't really seem to have all that pace throughout this race compared to 2 weeks ago. So Cedar, of course, also a familiar name to the Gold Split. I think he drove a Porsche last season, if I'm not mistaken, but now opting to go for the Cadillac.
I remember him driving a Ferrari in GT3 a couple of seasons ago in the 296.
He's been driving multiple cars, I think, around here, but it's I don't know. It might be very wrong though. But I think I have a Porsche with his name somewhere in my mind, but I could be wrong.
Good, but yeah, is he really risking it almost with half the car on the grass there through Colliers as he laps the Mercedes there, and so too does Matteo Passan, who's now got Robin Deschamps about 2.5 seconds behind him. So Deschamps continues to close the space in between the two, as Lucas Cedar now will try and escape up the road in the number 98 Cadillac. He is about
1.2 seconds already.
Yeah, 6 seconds behind Barzenk. So yeah, Passan's gamble in the pit stop, the shorter stop, is not really worked out for him at all. Now the good news for Barzenk is that if he can, even if he is only able to finish P2 and not able to catch notes of victory, he could well be looking at stealing the championship lead from Beltrami at the end of this one, with Beltrami outside of the top 6 at the moment.
Yeah, the gap is 11 points at the moment, of course, with more points being handed out in the endurance round. So I'm not really sure what the point difference is right now. But it's going to be close.
So the 18 to Barzenk, and is it P7 or P8 for Beltrami at the moment?
I think P8. But that's 4 points.
So we're looking at 14-point swing essentially.
Yeah, that does mean that he gets it. Yeah.
And Keinzel might be just about holding on by the skin of his teeth from Gurin, but De Buono in particular is looking to take a big chunk of points out, especially needed to after only being able to finish P7 with his screen freeze at Silverstone then. So yeah, De Buono is looking to launch himself into the top 3 in the standings here. Julian Gurin, though, not giving up on catching Zoranovic, but Zoranovic, if anything, has pulled a second on him since we last checked in, as here's Jakob Matrese still looking for his first points of the season, chasing down Battistella, who has lost a bit of ground with his later stop, and is right behind. I think they're all fighting behind Clemens Keinzel, aren't they, and Julian Gurin?
Yeah, they are.
So it's a big train of cars behind Gurin, actually, all getting a little bit of slips from each other down the Ullman Straight. And Jakob Matrese, the Mustang, he's really fought hard to gain ground in this race, and he needs to sort of pick his moment here with the Lamborghini going over the bumps. Towards the wall they go, and Jakob Matrese's got a lot of experience, one of Tatum Esports' brightest and best, but he has got, after winning races last season, he is really missing that winning feeling in Season 4, isn't he? As Battistella really late to get to the apex there, and that gives Matrese a really close view at the back of that Lamborghini, late on the brakes, but he's too late into turn 3,
late, yeah.
Goes wide, loses the back end, and loses a position to Jack Bolger, who gratefully goes up to P7 there. So Matrese sort of got sucked in there.
I thought for sure those guys were going to take a hit there, but Matrese being kind of surprised by how slowly Lamborghini in front was going, they went way too deep on the brakes into turn 2.
It's almost like he bounced off the Lambo as he tried to turn
it. It did,
in.
yeah. But luckily, Jack Bolger was able to avoid him there into turn 2, and there's no contact between the two. But it is Jacob Matrese now down in 8th again after challenging for P6 just a few moments ago.
There's Notzald flashing his lights at the GT3s. He cannot afford to trip up over them and give an advantage to to Barzink chasing behind there. You see Jules Neal not far behind Jaco Matrese either, as Barzink continues to lock up, now sort of stuck in a sandwich at GD3s at the present moment. 22 minutes left on the clock, and you can see Notzold losing a second to Barzink in this traffic here, as Jaco Matrese desperate to regain the P7 that he lost to the number 7 Porsche, Jack Bolger there, who is of course part of the DCS racing team. And Bolger just missed out on the podium at Silverstone, had to be content with a very narrow P5, missing out to Mattia Panci. And now Jack Bolger, I think, would quite gladly take a top 5 here out of this situation here, given that he's been sort of sticking to the back of the pack and now been given opportunity to make a move. Maybe he'll be the next to challenge the Lamborghini of Battistella in front of him.
Yeah, well, but first he does have to clear Jaco Matrese, who's still able to hang on the back of that Porsche for now. So there's clearly some pace in that Ford Mustang, but he's just not able to move himself past him just yet. Meanwhile, on board with Fabian Roth again in the Cadillac, following the Ferrari 409MP in front of him of David Eskadashvili, the only Ferrari 409MP in the field here tonight. And it's kind of been
is that Beltrami in front of both of them? Oh, and getting very, very held up.
I think it is.
Yes, there we go. So Beltrami again struggling a bit here to hold on to position. There we go. He's got Naskidashvili and Roth breathing down his neck. So he's able to jump them in the pits, but Naskidashvili in the Fischer Esports Ferrari giving him a very, very hard time. So he's got 2 Fischer Esports cars, I believe, all over the back. You can see the energy situation there. Beltrami has got 5% more, crucially, of virtual energy as they just get by. I think that's Michel Rodriguez that Naskidashvili is taking all the risks to lap at the hairpin there, just to prevent Beltrami from escaping up the road, getting a crucial buffer on him and staying out of the slipstream. But yeah, Naskidashvili, the Ferrari, looking really, really planted to the back of the Cadillac at this phase of the race then. So Beltrami's really got to defend that P7 if he wants to limit the damage that Notzold and Barzink are going to do to his championship lead here.
Yeah, Beltrami had some good pace earlier on. He was able to not only overtake Naskidashvili, but also extend the gap just a little bit. But now he's falling back quite a bit again. And just unable to create really a gap between those two cars behind.
He's so confident on the brakes.
He is so much quicker through that sector there, so much more confidence in both the car and the brakes themselves. So he's puts himself really nicely there for a potential move further up the road. And I don't think Beltrami will be able to hold up this place for much longer there. Naskidashvili really has a lot more pace in that car at the moment.
Jules Neal looked like he was lining up a move on Naskidashvili as he came through the lap, and there is Jaco Matrese, the teammate of Marco Beltrami, almost holding him up unintentionally there, but he cannot get out of the way quickly enough. It's always the problem in GT3, especially in a constant radius sort of hairpin like Sunset there, and again wanted the Naskidashvili crashes almost into the back of Beltrami there, and it's a Fischer racing car this time that gets in the way. So yeah, the teammates all in the wrong places at exactly the wrong time. And luckily, Naskidashvili survives without losing too much. But while this has been going on, Robin Deschamps is all over the back now of Matteo Bassani in the fight for P4 in Hypercar then. He's got within a second of him, and the traffic very much playing into Deschamps' hands here. So the Peugeot 9X8, he's really been on fire at this race. I don't think many people expected this from Robin after he... I don't think he can participate in Silverstone, but he's really surprised. Another Fischer Racing Esports driver, unsurprisingly. So they scored 1-2 in GT3, and they're really starting to come into their own in Hypercar as well. Actually starting to challenge for the top 4 here.
Yeah, the Fischer Racing team has really been a present name throughout the VMS, especially last season, where I think we had at some point 5 GT3 cars in a single split. So it's a really a familiar name at this point.
Felt like we had a race in Switzerland, I was going to say, given how many Swiss little flags on the back of the rear wings there were. But,
yeah, I think most Swiss people will be feeling very at home around these cars.
Well, I tell you who isn't feeling quite at home, Clemens Keinzel, because he's got Battistella all over the back of him. But I think he's actually, no, I think Battistella's challenging him, isn't he? Because Keinzel gained in the pit stops. Matrese is caught back up to this as well, and Jules Neal has been dragged along with him. So we have got a 4-way fight for 5th position in GT3, and I think a fight for 4th and a 5 foot indeed for basically 7th in Hypercar as well. So 2 big fights for points positions then left to play out in these final 17 minutes, and Battistella just being a little bit cautious on his exit here. That could give an opportunity to Matrese. I think Neil has spun out at the final corner. We've lost Jules Neil from this battle here, so that could potentially be the Frenchman losing. There he is, getting back underway, taking out one of the cones, so he's gone very deep on the brakes. The 777 slides up underneath him, and bounces off the wall. Well, that was that Farinelli that's hit him. Kirchhoff collects them as well. It's absolute chaos at the final corner, and the Valkyrie just avoids the drama by taking out all the cones. But you've got to feel for Neil there. That wasn't really his fault at all. I think it was Farinelli that collected the wall and bounced off him there.
Yeah, Farinelli just kind of went for a gap that didn't exist, and he was already down the bottom end of the points.
Farinelli as well.
Yeah, I think it's his chances to some points pretty much over, if it wasn't already, to be honest. That's not a great move for Farinelli down the inside where a gap didn't really exist at all. So unfortunate for Jules Neal, who was very competitive here, trying to maximize or optimize from the battling going on with Clemens Keinsel, trying to score some more points here, but he's now down I think down in 12th or 13th at this point.
While all that was going on, Matrese has picked off, you can see there, he's picked off Battistella, and is now battling Keinsel for P5 here. He's dropped Battistella very, very quickly. So Jakob Matrese is another of our drivers on an absolute charge in this race. At this phase, he just seems like he's really got that Mustang a better handle of it than he did at Silverstone here. And Clemens Keinsel, the championship leader, this is an important battle for him, because if he can't stay ahead here, then it's going to really leave him with a very vulnerable championship lead going into round 3.
Yeah, the only advantage Clemens Keinsel has is that Kevin Bauer, I believe, is out of this race, who's currently in 2nd place in the championship. So I think he has some advantage there. But nonetheless, it is Materesi down the inside of Clemens Keinsel into Sunset Bend, and he gets the move done rather nicely indeed. So Materesi finally back up into P5 again, after being 2nd about an hour ago at this point, losing out somewhere, and now climbing his way back up into 5th place again. So a great drive by Jacob Materesi, who is showing the team and himself that he has some good pace in a Mustang, and scoring some, potentially on course for scoring some good points here as he clears Clemens Keinsel.
Yeah, De Bueno, I don't think, can take the championship lead at the end of this, because he's 29 points behind Clemens Keinsel, essentially, having only got 9 points, with Keinsel getting the 38. So yeah, it's really a case of Gurin could get pretty close though. 23 points to his name. He is looking to get 12 at the moment. He's been dropped off the back of Zoranovic. Zoranovic has been very impressive, hasn't he, in this one? Even though there is a significant gap to Rontard, who with his later stop, he said, I think, slightly more fuel to play with and maybe even fresher tyres, and he started to close a bit on De Bueno, but not nearly quickly enough to challenge for victory in these closing stages. As Rontard is on course for a first ever podium in the gold split, as indeed is Zoranovic, and De Bueno on for a first ever win.
Yeah, Zoranovic has been really impressive, to be honest. He kind of out of nowhere after the pit stops phases, he found himself in P3. He's still there to this day, to this moment. So very, very impressive stuff indeed. And I think Guerin, who's still in P4, will jump Kevin Bauer after this race for 2nd place in the championship, closing the gap to Clemens Keinsel just a little bit. So I think Guerin for sure is the biggest winner as it stands currently, as we see the Tele Sports car locking up once again of Marco Beltrami. He's really struggling now in these closing stages. 13 minutes left to go in this race, and the 2 Fish Racing Team cars are really hunting him down and trying to get the Tele Sports car further down the road. He could be dropping down to 9th here if he isn't careful. He's locking up all over the place, a bit deep again. I think no, he's fine there. So this could be very dangerous for Beltrami. He could potentially be losing 2 places here in a short period of time if he's not too careful.
Yeah, it's a nightmare scenario for a championship leader, because you're fighting to hold on to P7 when your main rivals are quite a bit up the road in Busan and Barzenk. And if it's a worst case scenario as well, is if he fights too hard and gets taken out, he'll lose even more points.
Goes wide again there.
Yeah, I think he's using more virtual energy down the straights to try and compensate and keep Nashkidashvili at bay, but the closer he gets, the more opportunities there will be. So Nashkidashvili has got to pick his moment wisely here. There could be one at the end of the Ullman straight. He's trying to set him up as they go through Gendebien Bend, through Le Mans chicane. Fabian Roth free to just watch on in the distance here. But here they come. Nashkirashvili pulling to the inside to follow Marco Beltrami, but Beltrami has got that sort of edge in terms of top speed here. Now they turn into Sunset Bend. Having Roth
The narrower line.
going over the bumps. And again, Roth just sort of waiting to pick up the pieces once it all kicks off with these two. But only 12 minutes left to go. Beltrami knows he's just got to fight like crazy and hold on as best he can. If he can stay in P7, I think that will be a best possible result out of this for him.
Yeah, for sure, especially after that disappointing qualifying. So there's about around 6 laps to go in this race for these hypercars. So just 6 more laps that he has to hold on to that 7th position if he wants to minimize the damage compared to the competition up the road. Speaking of which, Matteo Bazan really under pressure again by Robin Dichon in the Peugeot. He has been kind of hunting him down for multiple laps now. He hits the Mercedes there on the coming into Cunningham corner. He is really trying to force Matteo Bazan into a mistake somewhere in these final 12 minutes. But Matteo Bazan is looking quite comfortable so far. It's looking well managed, but the Peugeot really is really fast in its closing stages.
I think there was a friendly little kiss from Robin Dichon on the Mercedes. Didn't look like anything too brutal there, as we see the number 67. The lights all on at this phase of the race, even though it seems to be bright and sunny at Sebring International Raceway. But Nashkirashvili looking very, very menacing in his pursuit of Beltrami here. It's a good thing, there's no category of racing where you have to stuck looking in the rearview mirror all the way through, because I think that would be a nightmare for Beltrami. Luckily, he's looking ahead of him and only occasionally in his mirrors. Bueno's lost a lot of time.
Yeah, so they kept dropping down massively there, but now
he's lost
it's
a
back
second.
again.
So
It is a second, yeah.
I think a mistake maybe into the hairpin here. He turns in. All looks neat and tidy so far. Oh, there was a bit of a connection issue. So luckily it does seem to have restabilized just in time there, but that was almost heart and mouth for the Italian. 10 minutes to go, and the connection nearly gave up the ghost, but Dichon having a little look up the inside, the Peugeot looking for every little way through. Matteo Bazan has defended well so far, but the Peugeot is looking like it's really coming into his own now, and Matteo Bazan may well be similar to his teammate, fighting a losing battle. Late on the brakes, Dichon throws up a shower of smoke from both the front and rear sets of wheels and somehow makes the corner. But yeah, you can tell Bazan under real pressure, and Beltrami, the pressure he's feeling is double that, and it's all Fischer Esports giving them grief here at the moment.
Down the inside goes Fedele on the Pecati for P10, the final points paying position, the 44 defending on the Aston Martin Valkyrie there. Now on the inside once again with the Mercedes in front. Oh, man, it's just... Oh, that does hit him now, but it's only a friendly kiss once again. But the Aston Martin does manage to pull his nose ahead, and he puts himself into the top 10. So that's 1 point for Antonio Fedele as it stands. But both Tandem Esports cars really under pressure there. Both Barzank and Bazan on the verge of losing a lot of points in their individual championships. If I were a Tandem Esports fan or supporter, this is really the moment I would be looking at the screen. I think you'll be looking away.
Yeah, exactly. Look at this. Dichon going much more aggressive on the exit of Sunset there. Bazan taking a bit of a tighter line to try and minimize the amount of distance he's got to travel there. But Dichon just looking the more aggressive driver here, and Fischer Racing Esports keen to get their first ever podium in the gold split here in VMS here. And Dichon, well, actually this is only for 4th, so it's Cedar up the road who is looking to absolutely dominate on that podium honours. And Cedar draws the driver also for Fischer Racing Esports, so he's going to beat him to the honours, I guess. But Dichon, a 3 and 4 finish would be nonetheless very, very impressive. But Dichon has got to find a way through, and Bazan had so much misfortune at Silverstone. Even this P4 would mean an awful lot to him after the start of the season that he's had. So yeah, he desperately needs to keep this P4 to keep his chances in the championship alive. We don't know how the rest of this season is going to shake out as Dichon goes round the outside of a battered and bruised looking Jules Neal there.
Yeah, just 8 more minutes to go for both Barzank and Bazan, trying to hold on as dearly as they can to the competition behind. it's really fishy racing.
Beltrami and Bassan. Barzenk is trying to catch Notesold and not succeeding.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm sorry. I'm
ago.
just looking at the wrong name starting with a B. That's for sure. But it is just hanging on for dear life. And in both cases, the Fisher Racing Team Esports team that are hunting them down. So it's really the battle of those two esports teams at this point. But it's for now, even though the pressure is quite high for those drivers, it all seems to be well in hand. To be honest, they're not making that many mistakes. They're just holding them up just enough, but they're quick enough not to actually get past there. Speaking of which, the traffic playing a huge part there. This could be a run though for the Peugeot on the inside, but it's a bit too far back anyway. So the traffic not playing a huge role there after all. But it's still well in hand as it seems. It's not too much pressure just from the outboard views.
Yeah, we did see briefly there in the background being lapped Mattia Panci. So good to see after a horrific first lap for Panci after qualifying on the front row that he hasn't given up and he's stuck with it and he's still in the race and looking to get to the end then. So it's not going to be a drive rewarded by points, but good on Mattia Panci for deciding to stay in the race and at least have some fun out there. And certainly we always appreciate when drivers, even if they don't really have a realistic chance of points, that they fight on anyway, because we love to see that sort of fighting, never give up spirit, as we see Bassan struggling to get it turned in to Cunningham Corner, and he's catching Julian Gurin here, still in fourth position in GD3. Up the inside comes Duchamp. Gurin, not really a hindrance to either of them, positions his car well out of the way. It does feel a little bit like here that both Bassan and Beltrami are starting to predict the movements of the challengers behind. The Fisher Esports have started to run out of tricks here as well as time. So really Nashkiashvili needs to get a move on here, and they need to take a lot of risks while lapping the GD3s if they want to take advantage. And this could be an opportunity here because Beltrami very, very badly held up by Jack Bolger.
Yep, for sure. So they're making the way through the GT3 traffic again. Could very well be the last time they're doing so at this point. We're seeing
Stella has passed Keinsel.
I was going to say, yeah. Keinsel's fallen back even more, so it's just ahead of Jack Boger now, losing another place of Stefano Battistella, who is now up to 6th place. So Clemens Keinsel disappointing qualifying, a great midway or start to the race, but then just dropping back again after that. So it is a race to forget for our championship leader in LGT3.
Can Jack Bolger add insult to injury and demote him to 8th as well? This will all be music to the ears of Gurin and De Bueno, it must be said.
Yeah, for sure. They're looking at this and like, well, we don't mind that at all. Speaking of which, something we don't mind at all, seeing these two battle it out again on track. Peugeot locking up just a little bit again, but the gap is still just smaller than 0.3 of a second there. It's just growing and slaking it ever so slightly every lap. So every time you think there's a chance for Robin Deschamps to go for a move, it's just a bit too far back. The Cadillac is just a bit too quick on a straight line at this stage, as it seems to go for a move.
Yeah, so Robin Deschamps, the German, needs to keep out here. That you saw there into the hairpin that Mathieu Bassan was taking a very defensive line, which in theory compromises your exit, but he was just about able to get on the power early enough to prevent the Peugeot from challenging into Cunningham Corner then. Into Le Mans they go again, down the Ullman Straight, and the Peugeot, you can tell he's just a couple of car lengths too far back. So Bassan laps Mathieu De Bono, who has been caught slightly by Rontard here. Rontard having a very good end to this race, even though he's not been able to do too many overtakes. As we cut back to Bolger, who I think, is that Rodriguez that's caught the back of him as well. So Bolger goes wide to let the Valkyrie through. Rodriguez late on the brakes and spins Bolger around. And that was a sort of bump and pass there. I don't think...
Put some straight very politely again.
Getting past both of them as a result as well. So happy days for Shadow 1. That was almost a Julian Gurin style late overtake.
Yeah, very nice indeed. So two of them fighting there for position, but he's the one who runs away with. Whoa, that's a Peugeot almost losing it on the rear there, flashing the lights. Very not happy about the defensive moves there by Matteo Bassan up front. So let's see what happened there. He goes around the outside, or at least has a look there into turn 1, into turn 2. tries to go for a gap that doesn't really exist, and then just hitting the rear
Towards
of
the
the Cadillac there on the curb there, losing the rear and flashing the lights then. So not really sure what he is angry about. There wasn't really a gap to go for at all, but he is clearly
so slow. He's running out of tires
Yeah.
clearly because he's 10 seconds behind Lucas Seeder at the moment. So yeah, it's absolutely just turning into a bit of a roadblock for Robin Deschamps, and he's got to hope he can maybe get a last lap move in there, but it's going to be quite the ask of Mathieu Pessan, not making it easy for him in any way, shape or form. Evan Leproux has been repassed by Michel Rodriguez. Then you can see Jack Bolger looking a little bit miffed with Michel Rodriguez. There may be an investigation post-race, you never know. I'm sure Bolger will be a little bit annoyed that it's two in a row where he's lost out to a Shadow 1 esports driver in the final stages of a race. But in Silverstone it was more his own mistake. This time he got barged out the way. And here is Marco Beltrami pulling a small gap to Ashkidashvili. So Beltrami, the championship leader, showing his defensive skills in this one. I think he's driven really, really well against a slightly stronger looking Fischer Esports pair to keep both of them in the rear view mirror.
Yeah, for sure. And as you were saying, he's kind of able to just predict where they're going. Kind of predict it. Oh, that's going off track there by Lepreux again, in the number 18 Porsche, trying to attack, I think, that Michel Rodriguez once again after being passed earlier on. So going off track there. I'm not really sure if there was any contact between the two of them, but they're still very clearly very much fighting for those points there. As once again, Bassano going defensive compared to the Peugeot, hitting him on the rear there. And this time it's side by side. This is the closest he's been so far. It's within 0.2 of a second coming up towards Cunningham corner. Could this be the move finally by Robin Deschamps? Is going at least take a look there on the outside again of Cunningham. Is he able to make it side by side through Cunningham corner? He's still there on the inside now.
It's going to be inside for Collier, but he's going to be on the outside again for Tower, and Mathieu Pessan knows it, late on the brakes from the Peugeot. He's trying to do a ring of death right on the outside at Tower corner. He's got the line straight on the power, and it's a drag race then as they go down towards Gendaby and Band. They barge into the side of each other. Huge hit there. How did they both stay and keep control of that one? Pessan refuses to yield. Deschamps refuses to back down, and something's got to give here. Well over the curve from Pessan. I think that might even been a little bit of corner cutting almost there. 20 seconds left on the clock, so I think Noetzold has started what will be the final lap now. 7 seconds out of Matthias Barzing. What a fantastic debut he has had after, despite looking in danger of blowing up the engine in the early stint, he has taken control of this one. Again, very tight from Mathieu Pessan. All this fighting has allowed, I think, is that Moritz Ulrich in 6th position to almost get within touching distance as well. They're 12 seconds behind Lucas Seeder, so Pessan has been struggling and just defending like crazy, and he's just got to do it for less than 1 lap more, but Deschamps is all over him like a Jeep suit up the inside into 3. They make contact, round goes Pessan. Oh, this is a disaster for the man who's held onto 4th place for so long, and his teammate is under attack too, right behind.
Almost a... Oh no, that was the Fischer Racing Team's esports cars hitting each other there, coming through the turn 2, but almost a mirror for mirror like situation there with a dive bomb happening on the TTM esports car. But unlike the other one, Beltram is able to continue for now, but a massive end there to the end to the race there with the Cadillac spinning out.
It's not done for Deschamps either, because Ulrich is now all over him after that collision. And Robin might have a bit of damage too. So the 999, what a fantastic... We've not talked about Ulrich in a while, but he's been making fantastic moves, and it's all opened up right at the end, as we're very close to seeing Noetzold cross the line now.
Yep, there he is indeed. So he'll be taking the checkered flag, but Ulrich very impressive indeed, as he is on 5th place now.
We go into Sunset Bend for the final time. The Pulse Esports driver goes. Eric Noetzold, well, he may have just missed out on pole position by a narrow margin, but in the race he will not be denied. Round 2, the gold split in Hypercar goes to the newcomer Eric Noetzold. A fantastic debut in his first race of the season. Matthias Barzing, 2nd for the 2nd round in a row, but who's going to finish in 4th position? They lap the Mercedes. Robin Deschamps holds the inside, but Nicolas Ulrich is going to be right with him as they go towards the line. He's blocked at the apex there, and Robin Deschamps just has to get to the finish line. It's meters away. They're going to cross it almost together. Lucas Seeder takes 3rd, and it is going to be, at least on the road, a Fischer Esports free fall with Moritz Ulrich just missing out. Here comes Beltrami holding on to 7th. What a brilliant defensive drive by the championship leader, but he does lose the championship lead now to Mateusz Barzenk, as here comes our new GD3 winner for the first time, Matteo De Buono, finally stepping out of the shadow of his older brother. De Buono is going to take a well-deserved first victory of his career.
Yep, very well deserved indeed. Difficult start, but then just running away after all that collisions happening behind him. Able to clear Rontard by almost 3 seconds at this point. The gap has come down quite a bit, just a little bit the last 20 minutes or so, but he has a well-deserved first victory here at the VMS Gold Series. Flashing the lights, very happy about that. It is Rontard, there we go, in P2 in the McLaren. And 10 seconds behind him, it will be Zoranovic taking his maiden podium here as well at the VMS Gold Split, kind of out of nowhere.
Rodriguez.
Rodriguez still looking for P7 though. Clemens Keinsel in the 73 Fisher Racing team is P7. I think he'll be able to keeping at bay around here. Yep, there we go. Clemens Keinsel, championship leader, coming home in 7th place, with Mitchell Rodriguez coming home in 8th.
Yeah, Rodriguez putting in a late charge there, so very chaotic in both Hypercar and GD3, outside of the top 2 essentially. But yeah, De Buono, Rontard, Notzod and Barzenk all both breaking away in their respective classes, and we see the final few finishes crossing the line. There is Mattia Panchi, comes home in P15 after starting the front row. Disappointing, especially a horrific start to the race, but good to see Panchi refusing to give up, as I said earlier. And there is that Deschamps in the 98 coming into the pits after just holding on. Oh no, it's Lucas Cedar, sorry, in the Cadillac, celebrating a first Hypercar podium then in the Gold Split, and we should say in GD3 a first win for DC Racing in the Gold Split as well. So very well done to the Italian squad. I'm pretty sure they're Italian, despite the Birdie Bassett livery. And here we go, confirmation then. Matteo De Buono, first career victory in the Gold Split. For Rontard, first career podium in the Gold Split, and the same for Strahinja Zoranovic. And Zoranovic really had to fight his way through the field. Rontard put in a great late charge to put the pressure on De Buono, but De Buono would not break no matter what was thrown at him. And his luck held. This connection was so, in those final 10 minutes, got so close to completely blowing on him. But somehow it held on, and I think he'll never have been more thankful to his router than now with Matteo De Buono. Julian Gurin just misses out on the podium this time, but nonetheless a strong P4 for the Shadow 1 esports man. Jaco Matrese could take a bow from P12 on the grid, was it? Or just outside? I think it was lower end of the top 10. He's gotten his way up to 5th by the checkered flag. Stefano Battistella couldn't quite hold on to the podium from the early stages. He has to settle for P6 ahead of our championship leader, Clemens Keinsel, who just holds on by the skin of his teeth to the championship lead as he does the 7th place from the Super Swede, Michel Rodriguez. Evan Leproux nearly passed him, had to settle for P9, and Jack Bolger muscled out of the way, has to settle for the final point in P10. Luca Rubin-Roux, strong in the early phases, fell to P11. Same story for Jules Neal, it has to be said. Johan Kurgin, decent performance from him, considering I don't think he did the first race of the season, or if he did, he didn't score particularly highly. He don't think he did.
I think he DNF'd at some point.
He's not in the classified order on my screen.
He isn't. No, yeah.
So
I think we saw him
first finish of the season for Johan Kurgin
there we go.
in P13, with Marco Galetti a lap down in P14. Mattia Panchi, after that early crash in the wall, heavy damage, still came home a lap down. Raphael Rapin was fighting for the points, held up a train in the early stages, but unfortunately does not get to the finish. Kevin Bauer and Vladislav Kolosov both eliminated with early damage on the first lap. And that concludes the GD3 order. And would you like to take us through Hypercar, Sverre?
Yes, of course. It is his first race ever in the VMS Gold Split. Erik Nutzold taking the win by about 8 seconds in the Cadillac, followed by Mateusz Barzenk, who comes home in 2nd place. So he'll be happy with that. I think he'll be close to overtaking Marco Baltrami for the championship lead. We'll come to him shortly. It is Lucas Cedar in 3rd place for the Fisher Racing Team Esports team. So very well done by him indeed. Robin Deschamps in 4th in the Peugeot, with Nicolas Ulrich in 5th. Matteo Bassan in 6th in the end, after that contact with Lucas Cedar in the end with Marco Beltram. He was the championship leader after round 1. I'm not really sure if he is still after this, but he comes home in 7th. Fabian Roff in 8th. David Nashkidashvili in P9 in the end, with Antonio Fedele rounding up the top 10. Then we have Filippo Beccati in P11 in the end, followed by Matteo De Campo. Michel D'Arezzo in P13, Francesco Petzin in 14th, Nathan Perron in P15, and Daniele Farinelli is the final finisher 2 laps down, with Francesco Adamu, Alphonse Velin, and Mohamed Colombo not taking the checkered flag.
So provisionally, according to those results, I think that would be a 4-point lead for Mateusz Barzenk as our new championship leader over Marco Beltrami. So still 4 more rounds to go in this season, if I'm not mistaken. So quite a lot of racing left to do, including another
6 rounds even. There's
6. Sorry, I
yeah.
miscounted.
With the 2 new endurance rounds, we now have 8 rounds every season.
That's absolutely true. So next one being, of course, Imola on the 22nd of February. We just got a bit of time for some interviews then. Shall we talk to our man who won on debut, Eric Notzold, and hear what he has to say? Because he's surely going to be a very happy man. We're joined now by our new winner in the gold split. It's Germany's very own, Pulse Esports' very own, Eric Nutzold. Eric, congratulations. I think he's muted. And
hello.
Hello, there we go. He just realized he's being interviewed. Eric, congratulations. An absolutely spectacular drive. You, of course, missing out on pole position to Mateusz Barzenk by a narrow margin, 13 thousandths of a second, I think it was in the end. But you fought back in the race. And in the first stint, it really felt like your engine was in danger of blowing up on you. There was lots of smoke puffing out the back of that Cadillac. And then that early pit stop ended up being the making of your race because it gave you the track position and you were able to just pull away from Barzenk in that final part of the race. So absolutely spectacular. You must be delighted with that.
Yeah, it was great, mate. It was absolutely great. Yeah, it was not planned, but it was a nice undercut. So yeah, it was a little bit of luck that my car was on fire.
It's not every day you hear a race winner say that.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was very funny and I liked it to drive here and it was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
It was incredible to watch too. And you were very, very confident in the traffic as well. Sverre, do you have any questions for our latest winner in the gold split?
Well, first of all, congratulations, of course, on your victory here tonight. Just wondering, did you indeed have to take off any of those covers for the cooling during the pit stop? We were kind of wondering if you actually did that, considering that you came out ahead after that pit stop that you made. But I'm assuming you had to remove some of that cover to prevent your engine from blowing up.
Yes, I was driven the Ironman, and I was on the same cover stripe, but here, yeah, it was very, very warm. Yeah, so
you can say that again.
Oh, yes.
Well, congratulations. I understandably lost for words because that was a fantastic first event of the season for you. Best of luck for Imola in a couple of weeks' time, Eric, where I'm sure we're going to see you in action fighting for victory once more.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway, thank you very much for talking to us and enjoy your well-earned first Hypercar Gold Split victory.
Thanks. Have a nice evening. Yeah. Bye.
Thank you very much.
So, with Eric having finished talking to us, you can tell English is not his first language, but he did a very, very good effort there. And indeed, he did most of his talking on track. I think it's fair to say. Let's talk to the man who finished runner-up, but with 2 second places so far, is our new championship leader in Hypercar. It is Mateusz Barzenk.
Him on my toe. Oh,
sorry, Mateusz. Didn't give you much warning there. But anyway, our new championship leader in Hypercar joins us. So, Mateusz, a fantastic pole position by a narrow margin from Eric Notzold. Then in the race, it was really a case of you must have felt when you would have been informed or noticed maybe a bit of smoke in the rearview mirrors coming out the back of Eric's car. You must have thought, right, this is going to be a race that I can win now. And then he's able to undercut you in the pit stops, surprisingly. Were you surprised by the pace that Eric was able to show today, or did you think it was going to be a bit difficult to keep him behind?
I mean, firstly, when I saw him put that lap on the board in qualifying, I thought there's no fucking way I'm beating that. There's no way I'm beating that. And
It's okay, nobody heard anything.
and, and yeah, then I've put a really good lap on board and got pole position. But uh, man, like the traffic was absolutely insane in the first stint. Like I was gaining time because he ran used quality tires for the first stint. So I should have gained time, but I didn't gain any time because I was super unlucky with traffic. So then I couldn't stay out longer on those new tires because the traffic was right in front of us. So when he boxed, I had to box. And then I did a master class on pit exit and almost went into the wall, which yeah, like it was not like he undercut me. I was 2 seconds in front, but I just overshot the corner on exit and and let him by basically. But his pace, nevertheless, was better than me, so I think the better driver won basically.
It's a good thing that
Yeah.
didn't pop up on stream, because that would have been a very dramatic moment. You missed it. We saw somebody nearly bin it into the pit wall on entry, but
Oh, yeah, it's really hard entry. But on exit, mate, I didn't practice the pit exit even once, like to go
Ah.
full racing speed, and it was terrible.
It's always the little things that decide the victory in the end, isn't it?
Yeah, when I hit the brakes, I thought I'm in the wall, basically. The race over. But yeah. I'm
Well,
quite happy overall because yeah, he was faster than me. I was lucky to get pole position, and then maybe if I didn't make that mistake, I could have somehow keep him behind. But still, his pace was so good. I think he would have passed me anyway. So congrats to him, and yeah, we'll fight next race for sure.
Well, I know you're the new championship leader now by about 4 points from Marco Beltrami, but I feel I should apologise because I set you up believing you were going to win after Silverstone because of you'd gone from third to second, and then you'd got on pole for this one, and then you end up finishing second again. So I feel like I was kind of cruel to sort of make you feel like you were prophesized to win. I guess it won't be long until you do get a win under your belt. I think if you keep driving the way you have been, but yeah, certainly. Impressive performance. Sorry, I keep interrupting you. You want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy because my last time out, I was really not happy with my performance in qualifying, which basically I think threw away a victory because my pace on the dry was really good and I couldn't use it there. But today I'm happy with quali pace, how I managed that. I didn't put a good lap on my first quali lap, which made me a bit nervous, but I managed to keep my emotions under control and put in another good lap. So that's a positive. Negative, next time I'm gonna prepare for pit exit to not go into the wall there.
Luckily, I think it's a slightly easier pit exit coming into Temporelli at Imola. So
Yeah, maybe,
just
yeah.
just a case if you rejoin right on the racing line and continue as normal. Anyway, thank you
Yeah.
very much for talking to us, Mateus. So congrats on taking the championship lead. Still 6 rounds to go, and best of luck for the rest of the season. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, thank you. See you. Bye.
Right, shall we finish off our Hypercar podium and talk to Lucas Cedar next, I reckon? So, Fisher Esports, Lucas Cedar joins us now. Lucas, congratulations on your first podium in the gold split in Hypercar. Obviously, we've seen you do such a strong job in GD3s, and it's great to see you. You had a really strong race in the end, really fighting for the podium all the way through. Overtook Matteo Bissan in the late stages quite convincingly, and then rocketed off into the distance. I think about 12 seconds ahead of him by the finish, or no more than that, because Bissan had a bit of an incident on the final lap with Robin Deschamps. But yeah, a pretty quiet but very impressive race on your end, it must be said.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, it was. I mean, yeah, as you say, it was pretty quiet. I didn't have too many incidents, and yeah, just kept it clean. Managed to drive an okay pace, and yeah, that's what got me the podium. So I'm really happy.
Absolutely, and certainly Fisher Esports with third and fourth on the road will be absolutely delighted with that as well. Sverre, any questions for our third place man on the podium?
Well, first of all, congratulations, of course. I kind of ask this always, especially to the third place. Were you kind of surprised with the pace you had compared to the rest of the competition? I think it's always difficult to put yourself to know where you are compared to the competition. So, any surprises from your side as to how quick you were out there on track?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised actually that I was that quick compared to the others because I'm not that fast on Sebring compared to my teammates, and also I expected the rest tech guys to be a bit quicker than they were, so it comes as a bit of a surprise. Like I hoped for a top 5, but I didn't expect it, you know, and to be on a podium, it's quite surprising to me, yes.
Indeed, but a surprise to be sure, but definitely a welcome one for
Very
you,
much,
Lucas
yes.
Cedar. So thank you very much for talking to us, and congrats. I'm sure that's not going to be the last time we see you
I
on
hope
the
not.
podium in the gold split. Well, no, there's still plenty more points to be scored. That's certainly for sure, my friend. So thank you very much for talking to us, and enjoy your well-earned podium.
Thank you. Goodbye.
All right, let's move on finally to our top 2 from GD3. He's been waiting a long time. Let's bring in our new winner first, shall we, Sverre? Let's talk to Mattia De Bueno from DC Racing. So, Mattia De Bueno joins us now, and for the first time, victorious in the gold split. Matteo, you've had to wait a long, long time for this. So many impressive performances last season. You had a really tough start to the season at Silverstone with the screen freeze. There was a scary moment with 10 minutes to go where it looked like your internet was about to drop out, and then it came back, and you were able to just coast it home to the end before Arthur Rontard caught you. So it looked like just a case of taking a brilliant pole position and then running away with it when everyone else hit trouble behind you. But it must have been very, very tense at the wheel of that Lamborghini.
Yeah, I'm so dead, man. So dead. I saw sweat with Arthur. We had a very long distance battle with the pace. I had no tires at the end while he was trying to coach, dealing with the traffic on the end. But yeah, it all started very well with the good qualifying. Not a perfect lap, but enough to put me in pole position. Then yeah, I tried to keep the position at the start and start to do the best pace I could. And then the strategy, I did not change the tires because if I could change the tires, maybe I will lost the position. I will lost the position. But yeah, I started the last 40 minutes so sweat, so deadly against the very fast pace of Arthur. That's it. I'm so happy after Silverstone. Yeah, this is what I needed.
Exactly, and you had a very good comeback drive in Silverstone as well. You've absolutely cut into Clemens Keinzel's championship lead, although I think you're still a few points behind. I haven't quite done the maths on that one yet, but nonetheless, a first victory for you and for the DC Racing team. You'll be pleased to hear, by the way, in the chat, Maroon Basir, the reigning GD3 Platinum Split champion, has said, good game, Matteo. So he's
Thank you.
congratulating you, and deservedly so. So I think I'm going to join him in that and say, well done, Matteo De Bueno. Sverre, anything to say to our latest Gold Split GD3 winner?
Well, again, congratulations, of course, on your victory. It's like you said, Ed, it's been a long time coming, and it's a very, very well deserved. No questions for me for other than that, but I just a very impressive drive, and congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
Cheers. And I think we'll leave it there, Matteo, because you sound like you need to dry some of the sweat off. Maybe a long victory shower after that one.
Yeah, now I have another race starting soon.
Oh, God. Well, don't let me keep you then.
1.5 hour in Le Mans.
Well, I hope that goes just as well as this one did. Very well done, and best of luck for that.
Thank you, guys.
So then, our new winner has talked to us, but there's one man still waiting for us. It's the man who chased him all the way down. It is Arthur Rontard.
Still.
Oh, sorry. I don't know who Arthur was talking to because he was on his own there. But Arthur Rontard joins us now after getting his best ever finish in the gold split. Arthur, you do make a habit of running as long as possible in the first stint and getting to field the last, and it absolutely played into your hands today. You are in a comfortable second place after the early phases. I think there was a bit of an incident with Jaakko Matarese, wasn't there? and that enabled you to get into P2. And from then on, you were really the main threat to Matteo, and you were catching in that final stint. I suppose I'd be interested, love to hear what your emotions are at the end of that one.
Thanks for the congrats, but yeah, I managed to lift on the first stint, so I could change tire after because I won't lose as many time as him on refueling my car. And yeah, Matarazzi just spun out on first sector, and I just get on plus on it. So pretty happy. I got really lucky on the start. I was started sixth, and I went out on sector 1, I think P3. And yeah, maybe 2 laps after that, I managed to overtake Matarazzi on his mistake. So yeah, happy with that.
And you very well should be happy because you really controlled that second place throughout that race. Sverre, any questions for Arthur?
No questions from me. Just again, congratulations on your second place. It looked like a difficult
Thanks,
race
mate.
out there sometimes, so it's well deserved victory of a second place. And congratulations again.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Absolutely. And thanks for talking to us, Arthur. Let's hope there's more podiums to come this season from you.
Yeah, I hope so as well.
Thank you. So we'll see how Arthur Ronto gets on in the next Gold Split race on the 22nd of February at Imola, which is another 80-minute sprint. So we're getting to the midway, all towards the midway phase of the season, and we're seeing quite a variety of performances across the different circuits, which is a good sign that we're going to get a very, very competitive championship run-in potentially. But of course, that's not all from season 4, because we have got the silver split, the bronze split, and of course the platinum split next weekend, next Sunday, at Paul Ricard on the 15th of February. I think the next contender round is Fuji on the 13th of February. And when's the next bronze split? I believe it's...
That is the 20th of February.
Yeah, because we had Monza the other day, didn't we? And it's an endurance round at Le Mans.
It is at Le Mans, indeed. So 2 hour 40 minutes at Le Mans with both me and Daniel Krylov on there. So that's, especially around Le Mans, that is a race you kind of have to see.
Indeed. So yeah, I'm definitely going to tune into that one, and not just for those dulcet tones of Sverre Coleman and Daniel Krylov complement each other very, very nicely indeed. But yeah, there we go. So still, as we say, 6 rounds left to go, and the championship very much wide open with 2 different winners in both classes in the first opening rounds of the season. So nobody quite dominating or running away with things. And yeah, Imola could well yet give us a completely new picture once we get there in 2 weeks' time. But anyway, I think that is pretty much it from the Gold Split. So thank you very much for joining us. I've been Edward Hunter, joined, of course, by the wonderful Sverre Coleman alongside me. We've also had Nicolas Domino running the broadcast beautifully. And thanks, of course, to all of you watching at home for making it such a great show, and all the competitors on track, not least, of course, our 2 winners, Matteo Di Buono and Eric Noetzold, who both put in stellar performances to win for the first time. And let's hope for their sakes, not the last time as well. I've been Edward Hunter. Thank you very much for listening, and good night from Sebring.